Welcome to the Saturday Football Show. I'm Peter Martin. Tom McManus is with me. We're here to give you that comprehensive roundup of all the action in the Scottish Premiership and the lower leagues in Scotland. We'll also look at tonight's League Cup semi-final between Celtic and Kilmarnock and look ahead to Rangers against Aberdeen tomorrow. There's reaction from managers and players right across the board, but half-time across the country in the Scottish Premiership. First and foremost, let's find out what happened in that big one at the bottom end of the table, Motherwell against Ross County. Adam Binney is there for us.
Half-time here at Fir Park. It's Motherwell 0, Ross County 0. Ross County probably had more of the ball in the opening period, but it was Motherwell who had all of the chances. Stuart McKinstry getting those first two in the 10th minute. He chopped inside onto his right foot. He's just looking for that far post with the inside of his boot, but it just shaved the post and went out for a goal kick. He had a similar chance 8 minutes later. Instead of coming inside his marker this time, and went on the outside to try and slam the ball into the roof of the net from a tight angle, but his left-footed attempt was equalled by Ross Laidlaw. From then on, Ross County tried to come back into it, had more of the ball really, but couldn't create any chances. The only other chance falling to Max Johnson of Motherwell just a minute before the half-time whistle went, when he came inside onto his left foot, but again the shot was saved by Ross Laidlaw. There's been a lack of quality, a distinct lack of quality really in this one, but I think that's been a consequence of the adverse weather conditions. The wind is causing the rain to come onto the pitch almost horizontally. I've seen goal kicks from Liam Kelly cross the halfway line and come back. It really is crazy here, but it remains at half-time. Motherwell 0, Ross County 0.
Well, not a classic, and as you mentioned, you know better than most, there's nothing worse than playing in wind and rain.
No, there isn't. Obviously driving over to the studio, the weather conditions are horrendous, and as Adam said there, it just ruins a game of football. I think the rain's fine, but if it's windy, you know, it really ruins the game, and it looks as if it's doing that at Fir Park. Yeah,
it's not good news for you at Easter Road, Tam. I mean, Hibs won, Dundee United 2. Dundee United took lead through Middleton, equaliser from Nisbet, but then again Harks put Dundee United in front, and they go into the second half with that advantage as it stands.
Yeah, listen, this would be a real disappointment for Hibs. I think after last week against Motherwell, you think, you know, Hibs back on track. You know, Kevin Nisbet again, 6 and 6, flying. But it doesn't seem as if there's many other players chipping in with goals at the minute. So big second half. I know what it's like at Easter Road when you getting beat. You know, the punters will be letting them know it's not good enough. So you've got to have broad shoulders in the second half, handle the pressure. You know, get on the ball, be brave, and try and get back into the game.
Yeah, I mean, he's got to get players in that he wants to try and turn it around. I think everybody's going to be fair with him on that, but it becomes ever more difficult, especially when you lose games at home.
Yeah, it is. I mean, listen, we all thought last week, you know, this is the beginning of maybe a wee bit of a run of form for Hibs, but, you know, so far on evidence of today it hasn't been. Dundee United have come down and gone 2-1 up, but there's still 45 minutes left for Hibs to salvage it and get back into the game. But, you know, I think a goal at Ross County would, you know, if they win the day, it would suck so many clubs back into relegation ball.
Yeah, let's go to McDermott Park, because it might be a surprise to some, but not to the Livy fans, certainly not to David Martindale. Claire Kinnaird is watching a Livingston side in complete control at McDermott Park.
Half-time here at McDermott Park, and it's St Johnstone 0, Livingston 3. The Saints came out fighting for the first 5 minutes and took control of the ball. However, it was Livingston that managed to find the back of the net first after just 7 minutes. Devlin managed to cross the ball across to Stephen Kelly, who put it past Remy Matthews and into the net. Just under 10 minutes later, it was almost like deja vu. The same thing happened again. Devlin crossed to Stephen Kelly, who once again found the back of the net. St Johnstone did have a couple of chances. David Wotherspoon putting the ball into the box, but not managing to find anyone to finish the setup, and it was a similar story for Ryan McGowan as well. Just 5 minutes before the half-time whistle, the visitors actually made it 3-0 as James Penrith shot from the edge of the box, and again it went into the net. Half-time here at McDermott Park, St Johnstone 0, Livingston 3.
Yeah, what a scoreline that is, Tom.
It is, and you know, I think I'm the only one in the predictor that's picked a Livingston win at the same as last week. I think not only they're underrated, underappreciated in Scottish football, but they're underappreciated in the PLZ predictor. So I'll just keep picking up the 2 points. I think Livingston under Dave Martindale are very hard to beat. They're a good side with a good manager, work hard. St Johnstone 4 defeats out of 4 going into the game, looks like 5 out of 5. You know, their fans will not be happy up there, but it's looking like 2 great back-to-back away wins for Livingston.
Yeah, fantastic. So there you have those 3 games in the Scottish Premiership. We'll keep you up to date with everything that's happening across all the leagues, especially in the lower leagues as well. Let's have a quick update on the Championship as well, just to see how things are looking in there for you if you've got a coupon on. Ayr United 1, Arbroath 0, Cove Rangers 1, Raith Rovers 2, Dundee and Partick Thistle postponed, Hamilton 1, Morton 0, and Inverness Cally Thistle 0, Queen's Park 0, and Queen's Park really have ambitions to go up to the Premiership this season, and who would bet against them? What about the overall there in those half times, Tom?
Yeah, well, I think obviously the pick of those games is Inverness, Queen's Park. I think Queen's Park are going for eight wins in a row, which would be fantastic in the Championship. Inverness, 2 huge wins back to back, so that looks as if it's a tight game up there. Ayr United looking to keep pace at the top, but at the bottom, Arbroath getting beat down to 10 men at Ayr United. They look as if they're not going to pick up anything. And Hamilton Accies, 1-0 up. I don't think a lot of people would have had that in their coupon against Morton. So it could be a little bit of a change up at the bottom if Hamilton can hang on to that 3 points. Yeah,
what's happening in League One? Here's the half times going into the second half, and if there's any goals, we'll keep you right up to date with it. Alloa Athletic 2-0 up in Edinburgh. Dunfermline, similar scoreline against Peterhead. Falkirk 1, Clyde 0. Kelty Hearts just behind by a 0-0 against the Adrionians. Montrose and Queen of the South 0-0 with Marvin Bartley in his first game in charge there for Queen of the South. So he'll be kicking every ball. Now he'll realise what it's like to be the manager instead of the player.
Yeah, I think that it's obviously his first job, his first game in charge. He'll be looking to get off to a flyer. Difficult game up at Montrose, but Queen of the South just outside those playoff places at the minute. They need to pick up wins, but Dunfermline look as if they're going to charge on to win that league. They're in great form under James McPake. Falkirk look as if they're going to be their nearest challengers. They win as well, so again, 2 big clubs stuck in League One. You'd like to see both of them getting out of this season.
Yeah, let's get a quick update on League Two and summarise all of your Scottish divisions. Forfar 0-0 with Dumbarton. East Fife leading Stenhousemuir by 1-0. It's Elgin City again 1-0 up on Annan. Borryrigg and Stirling Albion. That match was postponed. The weather's treacherous at the moment, I have to tell you. Stranraer 0, Albion Rovers 1. So there you have League Two. Brighton are a goal up on Liverpool down south. And just in case you're thinking to yourself, well, what's been happening in that Manchester derby that kicked off earlier? Man City took the lead through Jack Grealish, but then that's where I left it. And then Man United come back and score 2 goals and win it.
Yeah, they did. Man City looked in complete control. I think for when they got the goal, Grealish scored. You thought they're just going to go and win this game comfortably, but fair play to Man United. They're flying. I think that's 8 or 9 wins in a row. It puts themselves right back in the mix to win the league. They've came from nowhere. With the run of form they're on. And there's a few looking over their shoulder. Arsenal probably thought, great result for us, but Man United in the mix now as well. And they've obviously Arsenal play Tottenham. I think is it tomorrow, which is a huge game. Newcastle, I think, are at home to Fulham. So that top 4 now with Spurs in there as well is looking. It's going to be a great battle right to the end of the season.
Yeah, we're going to hear from our reporter Kerry Pollock a little later on in the programme, because of course there is the small matter of 2 semi-finals to look forward to in the Viaplay League Cup. Kerry will be live at Hampden ahead of Celtic against Kilmarnock, giving us the teams there. We'll also hear from Adam Binney shortly on Rangers against Aberdeen, that semi-final on Sunday. So those 2 games, we'll talk about them in greater detail and no doubt get the thoughts of Michael Beale as well, and we'll discuss both teams, how they might set up, and of course once we get the team news from Hampden for Celtic Kilmarnock, we'll digest the starting 11 and offer you our thoughts on that. So there's lots to get involved with. All you have to do is hit the subscribe button, tell your friends. Every Saturday we'll have a wee bit of natter, me and Tam, and we can engage with you as well. And thanks to so many, thanks to Mary who joins us, and Gregor as well, who's a regular, to us, Paul Baird, Marlon as ever, not too far away from joining us on the feed. And I'd like to thank everyone for supporting us and hitting the subscribe button. The people who are consuming our, of course, digital content right across our social media channels, it's getting bigger and bigger. and it's Alloa 2, Edinburgh 1, so there's a fight back on there. We'll keep you up to date with all the goals as they hit the back of the net, as well as obviously hearing from managers and talking about one game that actually finished last night that has implications in the Scottish Premiership. It was Hearts 1, St Mirren 0, and a better goal I think we might struggle to see this season. It was magnificent from Barry Mackay.
Yep, great goal, great finish from Barry, great move, and he finished it off. I don't think Hearts were at their best by all accounts. I didn't see the game, but great 3 points for them. Gets them a little bit of breathing space in third place. St Mirren will feel very aggrieved. We've got to speak about it. The penalty decision, on Rolls, I thought was a stonewall penalty kick towards the end of the game. VAR's had a look at it and decided that it wasn't a penalty because I think they deemed that it wasn't. His arm wasn't away from his body, but I think if you see some of the pictures, he's definitely his arm's away from the ball, and fans are getting so frustrated now because there's penalties being given for that in games and penalties not getting given. There's no consistency, and that's probably cost St Mirren a point. It was right near the end of the game. I think it was the last 5 minutes, and St Mirren came away with nothing. So it's really, really annoying at the minute.
I have to tell you, Tam, for me, that's a penalty. And over and above that, I think we need another summit. I think we need a summit to discuss the summit that's coming up. Because if we're looking at all the other clubs who are miffed at decisions, then I think they've got every right to say, wait a minute. Here's another instance where we don't know what's happening. And Stephen Robinson's come out and said he hasn't a clue. Robbie Nielsen's come out at times and said he hasn't a clue. All the managers have had their little pop at some of the decisions in a game.
Yeah, they have, and I think Hearts, not only that one, I think the Michael Smith one against Celtic, which was similar. The ball just come in, he just moved his hand out and it wasn't a penalty. So we've seen penalties given for similar. I think Celtic have a couple given against them, Bernabei and O'Reilly. So listen, supporters are getting really, really frustrated. Managers, players are getting really frustrated because no one knows what's happening. Is that a penalty? Is that not a penalty? It's all down to interpretation, the referee's interpretation. And if it goes to VAR, remember it's got to be a clear and obvious error, not to overturn it. So sometimes the referee, I get the feeling from Scottish referees and Scottish officials, if they think I don't really want to go against the referee here, then they'll just leave it, which can't happen either. So I think they need to have a meeting, get everybody around the table and get clear on the rules. Yeah,
Albion Rovers are 3-0 up away to Stranraer. That is some scoreline there as well.
A good journey back up the road.
I was just
a few years in the bus, but like Brian Reid.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a stonewall certainty. It's a good scoreline at the moment. Whether there's going to be a fight. 4-1 Dumbarton 0. I can't tell you though with regards to that game. We'll hear from Robbie Nielsen and Stephen Robinson in a moment. As far as the overall game was concerned, there was a couple of other little contentious moments. One that I was bemused by was Robbie Nielsen was sent to the stand, second yellow. I mean, it was ridiculous just because he held the ball and then swiveled it round the player. I mean, come on.
Yeah, listen, I think he spoke about it after the game. I listened to his press conference. There's referees and officials in the league, and it was the same when I was playing. The ones that you can have a bit of banter with, there's a line you can maybe get to. And there's other referees and officials, linesmen, fourth officials, where if you say one thing, off, shut up, red, yellow card. Yeah. So I think you get to know your officials in terms of Scottish football, but over officiating, and sending them to the stand, it just screams of I want to be the centre of attention.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad you mentioned that. Here's both managers from last night's game. Hearts 1, St Mirren 0.
I just spoke to him in there and I still don't really know, to be honest with you. I think there's some referees you can talk to and some I've got a bit of rapport with you. I think there's some that, have got personality and you can talk and understand it. And then there's others that don't have any of that. And unfortunately for me, I think the latter was this evening. So.
Yeah, so he never minces his words, Robbie, with these things.
That's exactly what I was saying. I mean, there's ones that you, as soon as you say something, they just stare at you and you go, I better not say it to him again. But I just think that the referees now, when I was back, I'm trying to think who I was, Willie Young, a good pal of yours, Willie Young, and Hugh Dallas, Dougie McDonald, Alan Freeman, guys like that. There was guys like that who you could
have a bit of chat with.
Have a bit of chat when you see you're having a nightmare, then they would turn around and say, you're worse.
Yeah.
And your team's getting beat, they go, what's happening today, wee man, you're getting pumped. All that.
Yeah.
I think that's completely gone now, sadly, out of Scottish football.
Yeah, you would long to see some kind of report, but there's so much pressure on referees, and of course so much pressure on managers as well. It's been tight between Hearts and St Mirren before, but this one, it was one special goal that settled it. And let's not forget, St Mirren did have two brilliant chances. Great double save from Xander Clark, and Ayunga hit the post as well for St Mirren. They could have snatched a point from this one too. Stephen Robinson, I think, quite keen not to in any way criticise his team, because once again St Mirren gave him all the effort that he asked for.
Listen, I thought our performance was terrific. We deserve a minimum of a point out of that game. I thought it's our best 90 minutes, and have two games against a team of that calibre with the talent and signings that they've been able to make. It would take 1 point out of it is devastating for me, because the boys deserve so much more. You know, we're down to the bare bones of a squad. We're bringing 17-year-old kids on, and we're matching Hearts, if not better, in them. And when, listen, the decisions I've been told it's a penalty. I've been told it's very similar to penalties that have been given against us, and all you want is a bit of clarity. And it's not the referee's fault. You've got other people sitting there watching, and they're not calling the referee over. And in the last 4 weeks, some of the penalties given, I find incredible. I find the rule incredible. I've stated that all along, so it's not just against my team. But yeah, it's unfortunate it's going to dominate a game where I thought we were superb.
Yeah, full marks to him. I mean, his side have been impressive. They've been one of the, when you look at the teams that have actually impressed, and I've gone to see them on a number of occasions, they play good football.
Yeah, they do, and listen, they're sitting in the top 6 at the minute. That might change obviously at the end of today, but I think he's done a fantastic job. Stephen Robinson, I think, listen, we all know how well he done at Motherwell. You know, he got to sell a move down to England, didn't work out. You know, he's come back up the road to St Mirren. I think St Mirren are a great club, well-run club. You know, and you know, they pay money within their means. You know, they don't overspend, and you know, great home record this season. I think they've only lost once at home. They beat Celtic, obviously ending that long unbeaten record for them. So, no, I think he's done an excellent job there, and they were very unlucky last night. The performance was excellent. Sometimes you go and you play well, you don't get the breaks. Like last night, you get beaten the game, but I'm sure him and his staff will be delighted with that performance, and the fans that travel through to Tynecastle. Yeah,
4-0 to Albion Rovers. I think they might just stay over there and have a party.
They beat Bonnyrigg Rose 4-0 last week, and so great back-to-back results for Big Brian Reid, the next manager in mine. They'll definitely have a wee carry out in the way back.
Yeah, we're going to speak to Kerry in about maybe 10 minutes from Hampden Park, but I can give you the quick team news from Celtic. Hart, Juranovic, Carter, Vickers and Starfelt and Bernabe, McGregor, Hatate, Moy, Jota, Maeda and Kyogo. So it's the same side that started last week's game against Killie.
Yep, you know, obviously he's got plenty of options in there. He chop and change it. But that looks a very, very strong Celtic team on paper, and as I said, they've got strength and depth on the bench. You know, they can change the team whenever he wants. He can bring 3 or 4 subs on. So, you know, Kilmarnock, massive underdogs. You never know in a semi-final. They obviously won a final against Celtic. You know, in recent times, they're huge underdogs as well. But you can't really see past Celtic.
Yeah, it's one of those ones you can give us your thoughts on it as well. I like Kevin Ferrier's point here, Tam, on our feed. He says, has Tam's missus chucked him out of the house on a Saturday now? I mean, that's about scathing, but nevertheless, there's sometimes when you've got to let each other have your own time.
It keeps me at the pub. It keeps me at the pub on a Saturday, or putting coupons on. So I'm happy to win and checking the scores in here. It's great.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you to so many of you for, of course, just interacting with us, engaging with each other as well, because that's the great thing about the live feed. You can, providing, of course, you keep your language, you know, in the proper manner, then we love to engage with you and put out some of your points as well. Just on that, somebody just mentioned here, and I think it's a good point. He says flying elbow on Halliday last night was a shocking challenge. I thought he was lucky to stay in the park for that challenge.
Yep, it was. You know, I don't know if they checked it in VAR, but again, you know, one that could have been a red card as well. There was one more Snodgrass, I think, a blatant dive. You know, so there's a lot of decisions that are getting missed, and a lot of decisions that we thought VAR would take out the equation in terms of getting the big decisions right, and they're still not getting the big decisions right. So it's very frustrating. Yeah,
and I don't want to blacken his name, but he is a hardy boy, Gogic. No surprise, eh?
I've seen him, obviously I watched him for a full season at Hibs, and he is a hardy boy. He puts his foot in. decent player.
I thought he had a triple-barrelled name at one point, Tam. Alec Gogic booking.
Yeah, he does like a yellow card, but he's certainly a hardy boy. But he's a decent signing for St Mirren.
Yeah, absolutely. Anyway, it's a good result for Hearts last night, and as well as the games this afternoon, we're keeping you right up to date with what's happening in the Scottish Premiership, where Livingston are just running riot against St Johnstone at McDermott Park, leading by 3-0. Still no change at Easter Road between Hibs and Livingston. Hibs 1, Livingston 2, and I can tell you it's in the Championship, it's Ayr 1, Arbroath 2. So all I can see is a vision of Dick Campbell at the sideline shouting and going mental, and they've responded.
I think a man sent off. in the first half, Arbroath. You know, when you thought, I said that, I thought, don't see them getting much out of the game. United flying at the top of the league, and Arbroath with 10 men coming back and winning 2-1. Another coupon buster.
Yeah, absolutely. We're keeping you up to date with all the action right across the Scottish Premiership, the Championship, League 1 and League 2. We'll also just dip into the odd game down south as well. The Manchester Derby was won by the red half of the city, Manchester United 2, Man City 1. But our focus, predominantly on a Saturday afternoon, is of course Scottish football. We like a wee bit of banter. We'll like to interact with you as well. Hit the subscribe button, and don't forget, you can also win yourself something. Yes, a Rangers top and the programme from the Europa League final. We've been offering it all week. We'll announce the winner on Monday, but here is the offer from Adam.
This is your chance to win this replica Rangers jersey from the 2021-22 season, along with the matchday programme from the Europa League final against Eintracht Frankfurt. To win this fantastic prize, all you have to do is answer this simple question. Which Rangers player scored in the 2022 Europa League final? Post your answer in the comments section below. If you want to double your chances of winning, don't forget to hit the subscribe button on PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel. Good luck.
Yeah, still time to get your answer in there, and if you hit the subscribe button, doubles your chances of being selected. Anyway, I've got to say to you, I mean, we're talking about managers up here who are under a wee bit of pressure, but when you look at Brighton 2-0 up on Liverpool, and you look at what happened in the Manchester Derby, two of the most highly respected managers in the game suddenly find themselves on the end of defeats. Liverpool have just been stop and start this season.
Yeah, I mentioned at the start of the season that there didn't seem to be everything all well in that dressing room at Liverpool. Obviously, you know, scudded Rangers in the Champions League. It's probably the highlight of the season so far, but they're struggling in the league. They're struggling to get in the top four. I don't think they're going to get in the top four. And you know, is Jurgen Klopp, you know, has he done his time at Liverpool? You know, is he now stale? You know, and I'd say the same about Pep Guardiola. The guys have been there for a number of years. Won a lot of trophies. It's difficult, I think, to keep going every season. You know, get the hunger of the players, hunger of the manager. You know, so. You know, you look at Newcastle, you look at Spurs, Man United flying. You know, that top four is going to be a real battle.
Yeah, St Johnstone have got one back, Jamie Murphy. So it's St Johnstone 1, Livingston 3. And remember, in the first half of that game, it was 2 goals from Stephen Kelly, supplied by Nicky Devlin, who's just an absolute stalwart as the captain for Livingston, and James Penrice. But that's a goal back for St Johnstone in that one. Is it going to be the big fight back in the second half to get them at least a point in that one, or will Livingston come away? I would suggest David Martindale will not tolerate anything other than coming away with all 3 points when you were 3-0 up.
Yeah, I can only imagine the both dressing rooms at half time. You know, Livingston, you know, been in there myself, maybe 3-0 up at half time. You know, the manager would be saying, listen, just same again. You know, keep it going. Don't give anything away. And I think Callum Davidson would have ripped the paper off the walls if there was any on it. 3-0 down after losing 4 games out of 4, he would have absolutely roasted his players and wanted a fast start in the second half, and he's got that. Yeah,
you've mentioned there, and I was just looking at the overall table, Tam. I mean, depending on results, you're actually getting to the situation where if Dundee United were to come away with all 3 points there, suddenly Hibs, the last thing they would want would be to get to a situation where everybody's all jam-packed in at the bottom end.
That Motherwell Ross County game is going to be huge. If Ross County can somehow nick that result and get 3 points, you know, Hibs I think would be 6 points off the bottom.
Stuart McKinstry's just scored for Motherwell.
Is he?
1-0. That's a big one, isn't it?
I'm absolutely delighted because as I said before, I know Stevie Hamill and Brian Kerr very well, and he's due a
You're delighted for them and him.
He's due a turn in luck, a wee change of luck. You know, and I hope Motherwell can get 3 points today. I really do. I'm not a Motherwell fan, but just for them, I think I'd like to see them getting 3 points.
Yeah, and I can tell you, Nicky Clark has just scored another one for St Johnstone. It's St Johnstone.
I'm counting my 2 points in this predictor.
St Johnstone 2, Livingston 3. This is mental. Absolutely crazy. Anyway, we did promise you that we've brought you the early news from the Celtic side, but I'm delighted to say that ahead of Celtic against Kilmarnock, our reporter Kerry Pollock is out there ready for that big game, Celtic Kilmarnock in the Viaplay League Cup semi-final. Kerry, as ever with these games, I think everybody knows Celtic, with the bookmakers, will undoubtedly be the clear favourites.
Yep, that's right, Peter. Here at Hampden, Celtic will be the favourites going into this game. They've won 20 League Cups up until today. Kelly haven't been to Hampden for a decade, but looking at the bookies, Celtic obviously do come in at the favourites 1-9 for Celtic to win in the 90 minutes. Kelly to get to the final to face either Rangers or Aberdeen. They as far out as 25-1, and for the draw and to take it to extra time possibly, you can get that for 8-1.
Absolutely, and because of that noise in there, Kerry, you'll never believe it, we're hoping that microphone will go closer to your mouth, dare I say it, because we can hear everybody in the background as well. Kerry, you've got the team news. What is it?
I don't have the Kilmarnock team news, unfortunately, but for Celtic, they just went with the one change for this evening's game. Johnson out and Juranovic in for Celtic. Maybe a bit of experience from Ange Postecoglou's side, even though Johnson did play against Rangers in his debut, but I'm sure we'll have the Kilmarnock team very shortly. Will Kyle Lafferty play? Will he not? Will he start? We'll find out very shortly.
Yeah, and with that in mind, Kerry, you've mentioned a key player there, Kyle Lafferty. I think Killie fans will be looking for him, maybe someone else, and of course, well, Celtic have got so many players to call on.
Camera here, around 7,000 of them in Hampden today were expecting, but yes, they will be hoping that Kyle Lafferty will be on the pitch at some point, possibly to cause an upset. He is a goal scorer, he does like to get in those areas, but as well they've got Danny Armstrong as well, who's Kelly's top goal scorer at the minute. But yeah, as you said, Celtic do have a very aggressive team, a very talented team, frightening team as well. Their bench even today can be quite frightening as well. Derek McInnes says that as well last week. But yeah, it could be start players for today, could be Kyle Lafferty, Danny Armstrong for Kelly, maybe even for Celtic. The Celtic fans as well were looking at Kyogo. He netted a double in the final when they faced Hibernian here in 2021.
Yeah, okay. Thanks to Kerry. We'll need to get her to change her mic, Tam. It's as simple as that, because that one's not the ideal one for Hampden Park.
That sounds like a Fisher Price one.
Well, I was going to say, no, it's not. I can tell you it's not Fisher Price, but we definitely needed to get it changed for half time, so we can get the latest from Kerry, who will keep us up to date right across our social media on what's happening there. And well done. Thank you to everybody who pays compliments to Kerry who's out there, because quite simply, as you can see, it's one of those days where Kerry needs the PLZ jacket, she'll need the Tammy, she'll need it all there for the rest of the game, because Hampden, when that rain and the wind kicks in, it's a cold place.
Yep, yeah, she maybe get Ruffy's long johns on and all. You know, if she's lucky, she maybe get a borrowed in from Ruffy, but she's got a hat and a scarf. And you're right, Hampden is the wind comes right into you in that press box, freezing. So I hope she's well wrapped up.
Yeah, with all due respect, she could probably camp out on Ruffy's long johns. Yeah, let's be honest about it. Great news from Kerry there, bringing us all the latest from Hampden ahead of Celtic against Kilmarnock. If there's a goal anywhere across the Scottish Premiership, or indeed any news from about 4:30 onwards, I can tell you that Kyle Lafferty is starting for Kilmarnock. No great surprise. I think you suggested that yesterday.
Yeah, I think that when you've got that big experience in big games, you know, and you play him, he's obviously been champion at the bit, he's desperate to play. He must be busting to get out in the park after he's serving his band. So, listen, he'll know he's in for a hot reception, but I think you become a better player when you're getting that sort of stick, and I think he'll thrive off it. But whether he gets the opportunities, the chances, the service to cause Celtic problems is another matter.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the side. Walker, Mayo, Taylor, Wright, Chrisen, Armstrong, Power, Donnelly, McKenzie, Lafferty and Vassell. And I think Scott Robinson's just going to drop down to the bench and make way so that they can get that double whammy up front.
Yeah, positive team lineup from Derek McInnes playing the two strikers. Whether they play as two strikers, we'll yet to see. When they might drop into one of the Celtic deeper line midfield players, but you know, I don't think Kilmarnock have anything to lose this game. I think they go out and you have a go. Listen, you get the first goal, you never know, but you're not going to keep a clean sheet in my opinion against Celtic. You've got to have to score 1 or 2 goals to get something, you know, and maybe
I
get in the
think
next
you've got
round.
to score first though.
Yeah, you've got to score first and you've got to score maybe 1 or 2 goals, so there's no point sitting in and playing for a 0-0. I don't think that's going to happen with this Celtic team.
Yeah, interesting times. What do you think about it? Give us your thoughts on the game today and looking further ahead. We're going to be hearing from Adam Binney in the preview of Rangers against Aberdeen, which undoubtedly the thoughts of Michael Beale and Jim Goodwin. Jim Goodwin is always good copy, just talking about some of the comments that were made by his captain Anthony Stewart yesterday. But we will look ahead to that game, Rangers against Aberdeen, and the possible team selections from it for tomorrow. The early news: Celtic were the same side that defeated Kilmarnock last week by 2-0. Kyle Lafferty starts in the match, so no great surprise there. I was just looking there, Tam. You get a haircut today? No, you just styled it a different way, because lots of people were.
Yeah,
just
I seen the feed yesterday. A lot of people were
absolutely
going Beavis and Buttheads.
Yes, a lot of people
decided to change it after reading the comments. I've swept it over the day. I was that distraught with my hair getting slaughtered yesterday, so thanks for the comments. I've took it on board.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks to James, who says all these coupon busters from Tam. He's well and truly. I've changed it. He's well and truly goosed. That's all I'm saying to you, Tam. Thanks, James. It doesn't look good for him. But the predictor next year, if we get all the punters involved with our predictor, we should have some laugh next year, because somebody's going to win a Howitzer prize. And then, of course, over and above that, we always like to get involved as the pundits to see the loser taking out the other 5 pundits for a meal with all expenses paid and a bottle of wine as well. We should actually bring along the winner of the overall pundits predictor, the overall fans winner as well.
I think that'd be a great show.
It'd be great, wouldn't it?
That would be good, aye. Unfortunately, another mouth to feed for whoever finishes bottom. But as long as it's you, who's got plenty of money.
Well, he seems to have thrown the towel in right now on that one, but you can give us your thoughts on that as well, because we are at this moment looking to bring you involved in the predictor as well next season, so that's something that you can look forward to. But I'll tell you what you can look forward to on a regular basis is competitions all the way through to the end of the season. We're going to be giving away lots of stuff that I think you'll really enjoy. Next week's competition is great if you've got a girl or a boy, son, daughter, who loves collecting the football cards, because we're giving away a box and some brilliant packs of Match Attacks, which I think is for anyone who collects these cards. You know, in the early days, Ruffy and I were talking about how we used to love collecting the football cards. You used to get chewing gum with them, I have to tell you. But now, anybody who wants to collect them, if you get a box, Tam, that gives you a great start, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. Listen, there's still a lot of people who are traditional and they like to collect the cards. I know all that stuff with FIFA and all that now, it's all online and buying cards. My nephews and all that, they're forever on to me to get them a card or whatever it is for a FIFA, but there's a lot of people who still like to collect the cards and fill the sticker books up, so it's a great prize for someone, the Match Attack stickers. Yeah, can I just say something to you, Tam? If Ross County were to lose that match, they could find themselves 4 points adrift, the way things stand at the moment. So Malky Mackay, not under pressure at the moment. I think the big issue with Ross County always is when you get to the end of the month and you find out if Roy McGregor, the chairman, has backed them financially and brought in extra players. Yeah, I think the Ross County every season, you see it every January, you know, and they strengthen, they're always round about the bottom, usually, in the Premiership, when they go out and they buy 5 or 6 players. But they need to get goals into the team. You know, they're really, really struggling to score goals, particularly at home. So that was a huge, there's obviously time in the game left for them to get something out of the game, but I think that would be a massive, massive result for Motherwell if they can get 3 points of it.
Ayr United, McGinty has got the equaliser in that match. Ayr United 2, Arbroath 2. So suddenly that game has been going one way, then the other. Ayr United back in it now.
Yeah, they are. I think obviously they've got aspirations of not only getting in the top 4 but possibly winning the league this season under Lee Bullen, an ex-teammate of mine at Falkirk. So that would be that's a huge game with both ends of the table. Arbroath obviously sitting in the playoff position at the bottom. Hamilton Accies still beating Morton. So I think that's going to be a big last 15-20 minutes in that game.
Yeah, James McPake, I think cruising for all 3 points, 3-0 now for Dunfermline.
Yep, they're 3-0 up, and I think they go 7 points clear. Falkirk are 1-0 up. I think Donaldson gets sent off, so they're going to try and hang on to 3 points there. But yeah, Dunfermline look as if they're going to cruise to that league. Their defensive record in the division is fantastic. They've got goals in the team, and it looks as if they'll be back in the Championship next year.
I can tell you it's now 10 men apiece between Falkirk and Clyde. Falkirk have the lead by a goal to 0. I'm delighted for James McPake because I think a lot of people feel as if he had a poor deal handed out to him at Dundee. I mean, I think when you look and you say to yourself, he thought he was turning it around, then all of a sudden in came Mark McGee. It wasn't to his liking. He was out the door, and I think a lot of people realise he was harshly dealt with at Dundee.
Yeah, I think he was as well. I think that when you get promoted like he done with Dundee, Charlie was there as well. It was great. And getting into the Premier League, listen, it's always going to be difficult when you come up from a Championship. You've just got to try and survive. They certainly weren't cut adrift by any means at the bottom when they pulled the trigger on James, and a real odd one, bringing Mark McGee in, which didn't work out. So I'm glad for James that he's going and rebuilding his reputation at Dunfermline. It looks as if he's going to have another promotion under his CV to go with the one at Dundee.
Yeah, absolutely. Don't forget, we like to interact with you on our feed on PLZ Soccer's YouTube. If you are indeed obviously want to put your point across, try and do it in a decent way. If you just stray over into abuse or indeed some language that is not appreciated by the majority of people on the feed, then we will ban you. And the reason I'm saying that is because probably the last time that we'll hear from McDell on the programme, because I just banned him there and then. I might as well tell you, I'm not going to tolerate anybody who's just basically their thoughts are in the gutter. And with that in mind, listen, we'll give you the scores, we'll interact with you because of the nature of this whole situation on digital. Some people think they can actually sit behind a computer and be abusive, Tam, and get away with it, but not here.
Not in this show. There's other shows available, as you know.
Well, absolutely. I think a lot of you can go on to fans forums if you want. It's great. As Tam, well, I'm going to get you a t-shirt. I'm buying one this week. I'm getting the t-shirt made. This is not the show for you. If you want to actually, thanks Fitzy, if you want to actually watch the programme, we are, of course, a balanced show, and over the 10 years on PLZ Soccer, our integrity, our ability to break news and offer opinion right across the board is something that we take great pride in. So if you want, any kind of a club fanzine forum where it's just all pro your club and no criticism, then fire in. We like to promote you leaving us and waving as you go, Tam, because we want people who love their club and want to talk football.
Yeah, listen, we'll always give our opinions on this show, and listen, everybody's got an opinion, and you're never going to agree with everybody, and as long as you're respectful, listen, I don't agree with that, that's fine, we don't mind that. Not everybody's going to agree with you, but as you said, if you stray over into the abuse category, then that's not a show for you.
Yeah,
it looks as if there's been a big goal.
Well, there's a big goal because Ross County have equalised against Motherwell. This one is just nip and tuck, isn't it?
Wow, that could be a huge goal. We spoke about it. 10 minutes to go, I think, 15 minutes to go. Massive for both clubs. As I said, if Ross County can win that game, the results going the other way, there's St Johnstone, Hibs maybe going to be 4, 5, 6 points off the bottom, but it's a big last 15 minutes there in that game.
Yeah, we'll keep you right up to date with it as well. Thanks. And also, this is one here. Stephen Forrester says, Peter, please ask Tam about me. I played and stayed with him. Is that factual?
I think that is could possibly be wee Forey from Balornock, who I used to hang about with when I was a kid.
Yeah.
I've not heard or seen from him for years. So if it is Forey, I hope you're well.
It is. He says Forey.
It's Forey, aye.
Yeah,
I'm actually surprised that Forey's still alive. You know, it's a great bonus for Forey.
Right.
I hope you're well, Forey.
Yeah, absolutely. So I can tell you, James Penrice has scored his second of the afternoon. It's now 4-2 to Livingston and 3-0 to Brighton. I mean, that's mental, isn't it?
Listen, remember the loss to Brentford a few weeks ago. I think he's got to, you know, I was joking with you towards the end of last season. I started the season Klopp out, but they are toiling. They are toiling.
He's not going to get sacked, Guy's piece, but he's certainly going to have to get his act together. Just to Forey, by the way, fantastic that you sent us a message there, because when I was growing up, I had about 4 or 5 really good pals from primary school right through to secondary, and I never dropped them, Forey. They're still my best pals now. I still hang about with them. There's absolutely no danger I'm dropping them. They'll all come in and tell you we're still pals. Some of them have tried to shake me off, but I've stayed with them. And there's Tam. Once you climb that ladder into football stardom, you tend to look and say, well, Forey's not really the man for me anymore, and you just ditch him off your phone. And I think by all accounts you were ditched on a Nokia 3010, so that's a long time ago, Forey. Sorry about that. You're a disgrace, by the way, honestly. Billy Big Time, that's your problem.
No, I moved out of the Bronx when I moved from Hibs. But no, I'm a Balornock boy and proud of that, and Forey stayed in the same street as me, so I hope he's well.
Yeah, absolutely. Still no contact or sharing numbers for you, but never mind, let's crack on. Anyway, some of the scores at the moment in the Scottish Premiership were, well, if there's going to be a little shock, could it be at Fir Park? It's Motherwell 1, Ross County 1. There's certainly going to be unrest at Easter Road, Tam, because it's still Hibs 1, Livingston 2, Hibs 1, Dundee United 2, and up there at McDermott Park, it is of course St Johnstone 2, Livingston 4. And with that in mind, I'm looking and I'm saying to myself, Dundee United with a win there, and you know, sometimes I think a lot of Hibs fans look and say, okay, we'll cut you some slack with some of your comments. This is of course Lee Johnson, the manager, but this is getting more and more difficult when you're losing games at home.
It is, and the Hibs supporters are demanding. You know, I played there for 7 years, and when you're not playing well or when you're struggling, you know, they're not short in telling you. So I think there's going to be, again, if Hibs get beat, there's going to be a lot of boos at the end of the game. There's going to be a lot of negative comments on social media about the manager, about the team, about the players. Just as last week you thought, you know, they were going to turn the corner, but it's a huge last 10 minutes for Hibs. They've got to get something out of the game, because if Dundee United win and maybe Ross County win, all of a sudden, you know, Hibs are getting sucked into a relegation battle. Yeah,
Forey's just said everything's going well for him now. He owns 2 fitness clubs, and him and about 4 or 5 of his mates are doing well. They've got their own big business.
Brilliant, that's great.
I just made that up. I just wanted to paint the picture of Forey well-to-do, and you going, oh, give me a call, Forey.
I would definitely got his number if he was doing well.
No, but he's doing well. But I don't know what Forey does. But I thought, oh wait, no, I'll suck you into that, Tammy. See if you're going to jump. Anyway, well, Robert says Lee Johnson for the off. I mean, I just think.
And who's Hibs' next game? Hearts at home in the Scottish Cup.
Yes.
So I mean, if you lose that game today and you get beat off of Hearts, I think you get jotted.
You think so?
Yeah.
You think he'll get jotted?
I think if they get beat today and lose to Hearts, I think there's every chance he gets jotted.
That's a line and a half, Tam.
You know, I think there'll be a lot of fans who have just lost complete faith in the whole setup at Hibs.
Yeah.
They're talking about director of football, and I think that's an important. I heard Lee Johnson talking yesterday about, you know, he'll have a lot of input on who's going to come in as director of football. I don't think any manager would have managers have got a shelf life. I think director of football oversees a full club.
Yeah.
So by the time Hibs get a director of football in, the manager might be away.
I have mentioned to you, Tam, that I know that there are people who are interested in Hibs as a club and potentially making a bid to maybe oust Ron Gorton and look towards giving them a fresh start. There are a number of people who have mentioned to me that there's a clear interest, but I think it would need something like that, because I think Hibs have gone. I think they've gone backwards. They may well have gone forwards commercially at the stadium, but fans don't care about that. Yeah. Who cares if you're eating a nice burger? If the team's rubbish, team's rubbish.
Yep, they've also done all their hospitality suites, and that is where you get that American influence. You know, that acumen, that business acumen off the pitch, where you do the stadium up, you give everyone a good experience off the park. You know, coming into the games, enjoying it, great food, great hospitality, plenty of choice. You know, and but you're right, that all goes out the window if your team's rotten. You know, because people don't want to come and watch a losing team, particularly Hibs. So there's a lot of work to be done there. And as I said, a defeat today and all that positivity of last week. You know, the Nisbet hat trick and McGeady coming back, and everybody thinking, right, Hibs are back. It's totally out the window after, 6 days?
Yeah, well, there's not much time to go, by the way, I can tell you. So if there is going to be a late show at Hibs, they're going to have to do it pretty soon to try and salvage something from that match, because Dundee United are leading by 2-1 at the moment at Easter Road. It's honours apiece at the moment at Fir Park, 1-1 in that game. Ross County equalising after Motherwell had taken the lead, and Livingston have restored that advantage. Now 2, it's St Johnstone 2, Livingston 4, Penrice with a double, and Kelly with 2 as well. So
not often St Johnstone lose 4 at home.
No, absolutely not. But you're talking about a team that are on the back of a 4-game losing streak.
It's going to be. I can safely say it's going to be 5 now. And as I said, 5 defeats in the trot coming back from the World Cup. You know, I think the St Johnstone boys might have went to Magaluf in the break.
Yeah. Well, the other thing about it, I've got to tell you, Tam, is Livingston. Here is a manager that is pushing Aberdeen and pushing Hearts. You know,
they're getting to 4th place.
They're up there.
They got into 4th place, and their next 2 home games are Dundee United at home, Hearts at home. So, you know, you take 6 points out of that, and all of a sudden you're in the mix for 3rd. And David Martindale, and I say it every week on this show, they're very vastly underrated as a team. You know, I think they're always underdogs away from home. They were underdogs against St Johnstone today. You know, despite them being above them in the table. And St Johnstone losing 4 in a row, so you know they've got an underrated manager and certainly underrated players. Yeah, I have to tell you, they'll go 2 points above Aberdeen, and they both will have played the same amount of games. So I mean, that's good going for David Martindale. I do think there's a bigger job in him at some point, somewhere, but I can tell you, Dunfermline 4, Peterhead 0. So good day for James McPake's boys there. And Falkirk are now 3 up on Clyde. So we're keeping you right up to date with all the goals as they fly into the back of the net. Falkirk well happy with that result from Scottish League 1. Yep, listen, I think Dunfermline are 7 points ahead of Falkirk now, and that was a big 2 in that league this season. I think that if you looked at it, you think, well, both those teams will be in the mix. I think it will take a fairly big collapse for Dunfermline now. But Falkirk going to the playoffs, you know, and Dunfermline and Falkirk, 2 teams that I played in the Premier League with, now both in League 1. And the mind boggles, you know, how both those clubs can end up in the 3rd division of Scottish football. Yeah. Remember Paul Hartley's start? He got absolutely spanked in his first game. Again, No, they've just got an equaliser in the 92nd minute. It's Cove Rangers 2, Wraith Rovers 2, and you can imagine. And now the perception of Paul is this wee dour guy. He is far from it. I mean, he likes a laugh. He's got good humour, and he loves the job. And it's a club that I think they appreciate what he did for them. Yeah, listen, I think he'd a brilliant spell. He got them a couple of promotions, and obviously took a wee risk, took a gamble going down to Hartlepool, didn't work out, you know, and ends up back at Cove Rangers. I think that they'll be fine this season. As I said, I think that Hamilton and Arbroath will be the bottom 2, and Cove are doing okay for a part-time team. Yeah, loved by Cove, maybe not loved as much by Falkirk, but nevertheless. Falkirk fans here. My mate's a Falkirk fan. It's one of those names you can't mention it, can you? No, you can't. You get done away with the youth set up and everything there. They try to go down the Brentford B route and all that, and it was a total disaster. Yeah, okay, it's 4 minutes of injury time now between Motherwell and Ross County. It's still 1-1 if there's a late goal there. I think the manager on the touchline, whether it be Stephen Hamill or Malky Mackay, will be going absolutely ballistic, but it's 1-1 at the moment. Not great conditions, which of course I don't think this match will be going straight
to DVD. I did obviously have a little chat with Alan Burrows. I think great sadness, when you think of his commitment to the club. He did say in his statement that he leaves the club with a heavy heart. Obviously, he's going to stay on until a successor is found as chief executive at Fir Park. I think he's done a tremendous job. I really do hope that somebody snaps up Alan with all the qualities he possesses.
Yeah, I sent him a message the other day when I heard the news. He just got back to me this morning. He's been obviously inundated with messages from people wishing him all the best. And as I said, not only as a director, the CEO, but a supporter. A massive Motherwell supporter. A guy who stood in the terraces and watched Motherwell. For him to go in and do the job. Listen, this season's it's not been great for Motherwell. It all started at the start of the season, getting put out of Europe and comfortably by Sligo. So I think that he can walk out of Motherwell with his head held high. He'll go away, have a break, and then he'll try and get back in somewhere, but on a similar job, I would think. So I think he's done a great job at Motherwell.
Yeah, absolutely. Here, I know a lot of people have been very, very positive about Alan Burrows and the job he's done at Motherwell, and it becomes, I think, stressful when you are not getting the results. You're trying to turn things around. Some fans get on your case. Some fans who really don't have maybe an appreciation of how difficult the job can be at times, and then you just have to try. And I know Alan himself, he's got a young wife and a kid, and the pressures of living 24/7 on this job. Once you get to a bit where fans, some of them can be quite nasty if it's not going according to plan. All these pressures come on your head.
Yeah, I think Alan's one of the very few CEOs on social media who would interact with fans. Obviously,
and he feels it.
Yeah, he does. Of course, he does. And you look at it, and every time Motherwell get beat, he's getting bombarded with who we're signing, get him out, get this out, get this. We need this. And as I said, it can be tiring. It can take a toll on your mental health. So, as I said, if he's felt it's all getting a wee bit too much for him, he's done the right thing, stepping away and refreshing himself, spending time with his young family, and maybe coming back into it somewhere else.
Yeah, I tell you, Dougie Imrie will be going into a darkened room and battering his head off the wall right now. There's nothing worse than going back to your old club and losing 1-0, is there? Hamilton 1, Morton 0.
Yep, and that's a big result for Hamilton Accies. I think Morton were obviously favourites to win that, and gets them a wee bit closer to Arbroath, it appears. So a poor result for Morton.
We'll be hearing from Adam Binney on that match at Fir Park where it's finished 1-1 between Motherwell and Ross County. What's your take on that, Tam? When you're down at the bottom end, you don't want draws.
No, you don't want draws, but I think it was important for Ross County at the end not to get beat. I think, as you said, they would have been detached by 4 points. And all of a sudden that becomes quite a big gap. So, listen, I think Motherwell will be disappointed. I think they'd have wanted to win that game. It's still no home wins, I think, since August for Motherwell. Listen, we know the conditions outside are horrendous. The wind, the rain. It was never going to be a classic. But Motherwell, I think Motherwell would have been targeting 3 points for that today.
I'll tell you what's unbelievably unusual about this programme, which is where we have maybe a little bonus ahead of so many other people, as well as being able to bring everybody the scores that are coming in. We're also able to interact with people. It's not quite a phone in, because I'm sure you'll agree, Tam.
Texting.
Well, it's a texting because I had 8 years.
I used to listen in the car.
I had 8 years at Radio Clyde. It would do your head in. There are lots of lovely people, but eventually after a while, 8 years of Rangers and Celtic fans battering each other on a phone does your head in.
Yeah, I can all
there's a shelf life, as Gordon
there definitely is, especially in that. As you said, if you're getting these people phoning in every night, you're doing the phoning, and you don't know what they're going to say, and some of them can be quite abusive. So it's great entertainment for the punters in their motor. Driving about and just laughing in the car, but for you having to deal with them and answer them.
Yes.
I don't think it'd have been great fun.
2 each. Hibs have scored. Would you believe it, Tam? Unbelievable.
There we go.
Don't do that and sit at me giving you a high five when Hibs score. There's already fans of every club wanting to steam into me. The Hearts fans will be battering me. Hibs have equalised 2-2. That is the Late Show. Boy,
waiting to come in. Well done, Blair.
Nisbet scored. Double.
Jeez.
He's
7 and 6. 7 and 6. And I spoke about this when he was out injured. He will come back a better player. because he's when you're out, I've had a couple of long-term injuries myself.
Yeah.
When you're out as a striker, you're watching all the games from the stand. You think to yourself, why are you running there? Why you should be in there? And you start to think about the game more.
Yeah.
And he's done that. He's got himself lean, mean. He looks strong. He looks quicker. And most importantly, he's hungry to play football again. He's had a year out, about a year out. So I think he can go on now and be a better player than maybe people thought he was going to be. Now he's got that injury and got that little bit of experience.
Yeah, well, that's 2 draws in the Scottish Premiership, because that late show at Easter Road, the fans will be delighted. Maybe not delighted. It's finished 2-2, by the way.
Definitely a goal, was it?
The whistle's gone. Calm your jets. You're not. We're not down that road yet. We've still to get a summit to come after these two finish the League Cup semi-finals. But I hope the League Cup semi-finals don't have something that's contentious, Tam. It would just be a nightmare.
Yeah, it would be. Listen, I think that we're all hoping we're talking about the football. There's nothing worse. Listen, we all watch the games and the highlights at the weekend, and if you come in here on a Monday and there's been 3 or 4 big decisions by the referees, you know you're going to be talking about it the whole day.
Yeah.
I'd rather come in here and go, what about Nisbet's 2 goals, or what about that goal, what about the result, Livingston performance? You'd rather be talking about the football and players and managers and teams doing well, rather than, oh, what about that handball, that referee's terrible and this and that. It sucks the life out of you, to be honest, and the energy out of you. So I hope that, as you said, I hope tonight, listen, I hope it's a great game of football. I hope it's entertaining, and we're not talking about the refs.
Yeah, well, I can't tell you, Everton were leading against Southampton. They've lost 2-1.
The job.
I think Frank Lampard might be out of a job. Can I tell you, thanks to Billy, who posted a brilliant message. He says, PLZ has made my Saturday. Can't get to the football because of ill health, and he watches the programme. I won't finish off.
Wish you all the best, Bill.
Yeah, I won't finish off Bill's statement, but he likes us. He likes us.
Right.
He slaughtered somewhere else, but nevertheless, we like.
I hope you're feeling better soon, Bill. And it wasn't a day for the football anyway. I'd like, by the way, fair play to anybody who's at a game today. In this area,
absolutely,
Motherwell game, because the weather's horrendous. Fair play to go to it.
You need to be a real fan, and can I just say something to you, especially tomorrow as well, and today, the amount of Rangers and Celtic fans who travel from Ireland, who actually set out in the morning, Tam. It's such a major jaunt, and they do it regularly everywhere, and they make this long journey just to see their teams play. And I'm sure, and by the way, I hold my hands up here, I am sure, Motherwell, Hearts, Hibs, lots of fans travel to see them from great distances as well. But you know that vast amount of Celtic and Rangers supporters that make that journey from Ireland. Yeah, listen, it's total devotion to their football club, isn't it? It's not just the time and effort, it's the money, involved. I played in Derry for Derry City, and there was a lot of, particularly Celtic fans, a lot of Celtic fans come over from Derry City. Same when I went down to Limerick, a lot of Celtic supporters clubs and that down in Limerick as well. So, these supporters, they pay a lot of money to come over, and as you said, leave first thing in the morning, maybe get home 3-4 in the morning just to watch a game of football. So you've got to applaud the devotion for fans of all clubs who do that. Yeah, I can tell you full time right across the Scottish Premiership now. And remember, there's 4 teams involved in the Viaplay Scottish League Cup semi-finals. We've heard from Kerry ahead of that match between Celtic and Kilmarnock. Adam will give us a preview in the next hour ahead of Rangers against Aberdeen tomorrow, which Adam will be covering for us. But in the Scottish Premiership, it finished up at St Johnstone, finished St Johnstone 2, Livingston 4. Elsewhere at Fir Park, big game at the bottom end of the table. It was Motherwell 1, Ross County 1. And the reason Tam was giving me a high five, he's a happy Hibby, because it was the late show. It was Hibs 2, Dundee United 2. And if Liam Fox is holding his head in his hands, then certainly Lee Johnson is punching his fist into the air with that goal. Massive goal. I think if you get beaten that game today, I think that is a real blow to morale for the whole club. To get the late goal, all of a sudden a draw feels like a win. You used to snatch a goal at the end. So that Dundee United will be desperate, disappointed. They looked as if they're going to hold on the full second half to the 2-1. But fair play to Hibs. You've got to have the character to keep going. It's not easy. At times at Easter Road when you're getting beat, the fans getting on your back. They kept going right to the very end, and
Kevin Nisbet absolutely flying.
Yeah, absolutely. I can tell you, the teams that have come in from Hampden, it was Walker, Mayo, Taylor, Wright, Chrisen, Armstrong, Power, Donnelly, McKenzie, Kyle Lafferty and Kyle Vassell. So Kyle Lafferty starts, Scott Robinson drops to the bench on this one. He does have Hemming, Stokes, Alabiosu, McEnroy, Alson, Polworth, Jones, Robinson and Doidge as options. Derek McInnes, should he wish to use them. He does have options that may well help him later on in the game, because, as you know, Tam, substitutes play such a huge part in football now.
Yep, they do, particularly with the substitution rule now, 5 subs. That plays a huge role. Sometimes your subs can come on and win the game, and I can remember, going back now, at 2003-2004, we played Rangers in the semi-final at Hibs, and myself and Stephen Dobie came on as subs, and I set up Dobbs for equaliser, and I scored in the penalty shootout. I think Dobbs missed, but that was the 2 subs that kind of got us through against Rangers that night at Hampden as well. So your substitutes can be massive. They can come on and change the game, and that's where Celtic have got the huge advantage, and Rangers for that matter, over all the clubs in Scotland. They've got 6-7 international players sitting on the bench waiting to come on.
Yeah, and as far as the Celtic starting 11, it's the exact same team that defeated Killie by 2-0 last week. It was Hart and goal, Juranovic, Carter Vickers, Starfelt, Bernabe, McGregor, Hatate, Moy, Jota, Maeda and Kyogo. And as far as the substitutes are concerned, it's Bain, Johnston, Jens, Giacomakis, Abada, Turnbull's in there, and also Kobayashi, O'Reilly and Forrest. So
their bench is
incredible,
unbelievable. Every one of them could come into the starting lineup.
Yeah.
And as I said, when you've got those sort of options, Abada, Giacomakis, O'Reilly, guys that have been excellent for Celtic. It's a tall order, because you usually when you're playing the Old Firm, you think, right, we can get to 60-70 minutes and stay in the game, but it's literally got to be a 90-95 minute performance to get through into the final.
Yeah, absolutely. Give us your thoughts and predictions on the games and how you think it's all going to go, because certainly we're looking forward to 2 semi-finals where I think it's all about hopefully talking about what's happened on the pitch than some of the things that we often talk about, which is sometimes VAR, refereeing decisions that leave us bemused, handballs that leave us completely and utterly flummoxed. If we're talking about great goals, that'd be great. Just one change actually that from Celtic side that won last week, he's put in Juranovic instead of Johnston. It's an interesting choice actually. Juranovic is one of those players just constantly being suggested is on his way.
Short window.
Yeah.
Short window.
Maybe.
I would suggest it might be the short window for Juranovic tonight. I think it will certainly be for him. He will know he is close to getting a move. I think that it seems to be that Celtic want the move to happen, and he wants the move to happen, but they've not came to an agreement for the right fee yet. So he will know if he goes out and plays really well tonight that it could be somebody lurking in the shadows that could pull the trigger and go and put a big bid in for him. So Juranovic, Bernabe, 2 attacking fullbacks for Celtic, but they know the way Celtic play. So it's interesting that Armstrong's playing for Kilmarnock as well, their top scorer.
Yeah.
And they've got Vassell and they've got Lafferty. So a lot of people would have expected Derek McInnes to go there and play 4-6-0 or 4-5-1 and park the bus, but I think he's going to have a go at it, rightfully so, in a semi-final.
Yeah, and thanks to Paul as well. He says Peter Johnston did play instead of Juranovic last week. That's just that one change. Johnston on the bench, so they can make those changes as well. But I think
Juranovic is more attacking. I think maybe that's the thinking
on a big pitch.
On a big pitch, you've seen him in the World Cup. He bombs forward. He likes to join in the attack, and Celtic would dominate the ball. We'd expect Celtic to have 70-75% possession. So I think, and Johnson obviously played at Ibrox. He's more defensive minded, solid. But Juranovic tonight with Celtic having the lion's share of the ball, I think that's a good shout.
I'll tell you the funny thing about it, when you look at it, Johnston is a man who likes to bomb forward as well. He will be, I think, a good player for Celtic. But I think the general consensus from you and I, looking at the 2 teams, is the tactics that Derek is going to adopt, because you don't want to get to the same outcome as last week, because it was at Celtic Park, but Hampden's a home from home for Celtic, and if Killie are going to come to a plan B somewhere along the line, Vassell and obviously Kyle Lafferty are part of that plan B. I think they might look to go a wee bit more direct. Set pieces are going to be huge.
Yep, I think that if I was Derek McInnes, I think I would be going direct. I'd be trying to put Celtic under pressure at the back. I'd be putting as many balls into the box as I could. You know, get Vassell, you've got Lafferty who's great in the air. You know, go and ruffle Celtic up, try something different. You know, Celtic are used to teams just parking the bus. You know, they go and control the ball. You know, so from Kilmarnock's point of view, can you get the ball wide to the wee boy Armstrong? Can you get balls into the box? You know, and put Celtic under pressure at the back, test them. But to do that, you've got to get up the pitch. You know, Kilmarnock cannot afford to sit too deep, because if they sit deep, their front two or front three is going to be, you know, miles away from their midfield, and they're going to get up the park. So Kilmarnock got to be not only brave, you know, in possession, but they've got to be brave with the line they keep. They've got to try and squeeze 10-15 yards up the park, which will leave Celtic gaps. But I think if Kilmarnock want to get a result, they've got to take risks, they've got to gamble, and they've took that with the starting lineup, but they've got to do that with the way they play as well.
Yeah, we haven't got that in the predictor, Tam. You'll be happy to know. Somebody did ask me, are we putting it in the predictor? And I says McManus does not allow.
A couple of seasons ago, you added it because you were behind.
Yeah, I had to get back into the game. Yeah, absolutely. It was blatant cheating. Some people said simulation. I went, no, blatant cheating. So we're not including it in our predictor. But what did you have? Did you have Celtic to win it comfortably?
I think I had 3-0 to Celtic. I think I would stick to that, seeing the starting lineups. I think Celtic's got a very strong team out, but I'll go for 3-0.
Yeah, I can't see either team stopping Celtic or Rangers in the semi-finals, because you know, when you look at Michael Beale's side and the way he's slowly but surely got players back from injury, and he's got something out of the players that he's inherited as well. I know he's going to wait and announce a couple of signings, maybe more than that, towards the end of this week that we're going into, but right now he's got the best out of what he's inherited, and 5 wins out of 6.
Yeah, listen, I don't think the performances at the start were great, but they scraped a couple of wins. You know, particularly one up Pittodrie, you know, against tomorrow's opponents, where they looked dead and buried with 5 minutes to go and they come back and won. I think Aberdeen need to defend properly. They need to defend. You know, they need to keep their concentration for 95 minutes. I spoke about it earlier. You know, it's not just 90 minutes now. It's sometimes there's 5, 6, 7, 8 minutes added on at the end, and the big teams keep going to the end. Celtic, Rangers, they win a lot of games, you know, in injury time. So you've got to concentrate for the full duration of the match. But I think if Aberdeen can defend well, strongly, you know, I think they'll get opportunities, because I like Duke, I like Miovski. Leighton Clarkson's a good player. Ramdani in the middle of the park. So they've got players, I think, that can hurt Rangers. But again, it's big moments on the night. Can you go and take your opportunities? And if Aberdeen take their opportunities and defend well, then I think there's more chance of that being an upset than Celtic Kilmarnock.
Yeah, give us your thoughts on both semi-finals in the Viaplay League Cup. Also, I can tell you in the Scottish Premiership today, there was a lot of big games, bottom end of the table. At Fir Park, it was Motherwell against Ross County. Adam Binney was there.
Full time here at Fir Park. It has finished Motherwell 1, Ross County 1, and it's a scoreline that doesn't really suit either side. You could see that towards the end of the match that both sides were going in pursuit of that all-important winner, but it was Motherwell who got the opening goal in the 67th minute through Stuart McKinstry, who looked the likeliest threat all afternoon. Had 2 big chances in the first half that weren't taken, but he made up for it in the 67th minute. Lovely little header around the corner to find Van Veen. Van Veen laid it off for McKinstry. A lovely little daisy cutter that skimmed off the surface. It was a powerful effort. Laidley got a hand to it, but he couldn't keep it out to give the Steelman the lead. But then Ross County, from nowhere, after a disappointing start to the second half, managed to get themselves on level terms with 10 minutes to go through Jordi Hawula. A simple throw in, found the head of Jordan White, flicked it on. There was Hawula, and Cam, as you like, slotted it underneath the legs of the goalkeeper to make it 1-1. Nobody could then go and find a winner, which won't suit either manager, and it finishes here at Fir Park. Motherwell 1, Ross County 1.
Yeah, so not a classic. I think certainly on the evidence of the weather, Adam highlighted.
Adam's done all right. He's Barnett, wasn't he? Blown about the place.
Well, that's because he's
a bit lacquer on it. He's got
a giant canopy over the top of it to make sure that his hair doesn't get battered like it was at Hampden earlier in the week. But you know, I think he highlighted there as well. The one thing that you don't have at Fir Park on a day like today is a chance to play free-flowing football, because it just, wind, for me, Tam, is the worst thing. It ruins it, doesn't it?
Ruins it. I think there should be a barometer. I think there should be a wind barometer.
Oh, don't even complicate it. Well, listen, we're having trouble getting VAR.
No, it just ruins the game. But it's, you know, people go to watch a game and they want to go and get entertained. You know, if there's a 30 mile an hour wind,
yeah,
you know, it's.
So you're calling games off now for 30
I think both would probably play 3 games a season.
Yeah.
But, you know, I think it ruins the game. Listen, when I was a player, could be bucketing down. It wouldn't bother me. I like a greasy surface, but The win ruins the game.
Okay, give me your reaction then as we go through the full times in the Scottish Premiership. This is the full time scorelines right across all the divisions, but we start with the Premiership. Of course, Hearts defeated St Mirren by a 1-0 last night. It's Hibs 2, Dundee United 2 with that Kevin Nisbet late equaliser. Motherwell 1, Ross County 1, and St Johnstone 2, Livingston 4. We'll hear from Claire Kinnaird and her match report from McDermott Park shortly, but that's how it looks in the Scottish Premiership, and I think it's a big point for Lee Johnson, but at the bottom end I don't think either manager will express any great delight at a 1-1 at Fir Park.
No, I think that it was an important game first and foremost for Motherwell. I think they have been coming under increasing pressure in recent weeks. The results have been poor, particularly at home. You know, they must have one of the worst home records in Britain. I don't think they've won at home since August. So really, really poor. Ross County would have come down hoping not to get beat. Difficult away game for them. Listen, a draw, I think Malky be happy with a draw if they've been 1-0 behind. But you're right, it doesn't really do either any good. They pick up a point, but I think in terms of Motherwell, that was a game they had to win, really, to get themselves up the table, and I think their fans will not be happy.
Full-time scores in the Championship, and here's how it all looks. Ayr United 2, Arbroath 2, Cove Rangers 2, Raith Rovers 2, Dundee against Partick Thistle was postponed. It's Hamilton 1, Morton 0 in that match, and also Inverness Cally Thistle 0, Queen's Park 0. It's been, Inverness Cally Thistle just starting to get a wee bit of form there against Queen's Park, who scored a barrel load last week.
Yeah, that was a big game. Inverness have had two, emphatic wins in recent weeks. I think that was an important game for them to stay in touch and get something out of the game. Queen's Park, I think, will be happy with a point going up to Inverness, difficult venue, and they'll be happy. I think they extend the lead to 5 points over Dundee, who've got a game in hand. So, listen, I think it's going to be very tight to the end of the season. I think Dundee still slight favourites to win the league for me, because they've got Partick Thistle. It's obviously postponed today, and I think their next home game is Queen's Park at home. So
and Ayr United tucked in 4 points behind them as well.
Yeah, that finished 2 each.
Yeah.
So I think they'll be disappointed playing 10 men to drop 2 points. But I think that now Morton getting beat, I think they're now looking at between Dundee and Queen's Park, and they both play each other, I think, next week at home. Okay, let's look at League One for the full-time scores and get your thoughts on this as well. If you are joining us on PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel, thank you very much for doing that. It's Alloa 2, Edinburgh 1 in that scoreline, and also Dunfermline 4, Peterhead 0, Falkirk 4, Clyde 0, Kelty Hearts 1, Airdrieonians 1, and Montrose 1, Queen of the South 0. So Dunfermline. Yeah, I think that they go 7 points clear. I think Falkirk will chase them down all season, and I think they've maybe still to play each other, maybe once, maybe twice, I'm not sure, but at least once. Falkirk will obviously looking to win that. Two huge clubs, as I said earlier, both Premier League clubs in recent times. To be languishing in the third level of Scottish football is really poor. I think Dunfermline will go up. I'd like to see Falkirk going up as well into the Championship, maybe in the playoffs, because, as I said, both big towns, both big football clubs in Scottish terms, and you'd like to see them in the Championship at least. Yeah.
Okay, from League One, let's go to League Two for the full-time scores, and it's League Two, Forfar 2, Dumbarton 1, East Fife 1, Stenhousemuir 1, Elgin City 1, Annan 1, Bonnyrigg and Stirling Albion. That match was postponed. It was Stranraer 0, Albion Rovers 4, and Dumbarton in the box seat in that division.
Yeah, they are. I think they obviously go top of the league. They were top of the league, but I think Stirling will be happy with that. I think Stirling, game postponed. They've got a game in hand now. I think it's between the two, Dumbarton and Stirling Albion. We both know Darren Young well. We'd like to see him. He's already won that league, I think. Got promoted out of that league with Albion Rovers, so I'd like to see them maybe win that league, Stirling Albion, for Darren.
Yeah, let's get a match report from that match at McDermott Park. Our reporter Claire Kinnaird watched it unfold.
It's finished here at McDermott Park. St Johnstone 2, Livingston 4. Livingston dominating the first half with two almost identical goals. Devlin crossed to Stephen Kelly, who put the ball past Remy Matthews to make it St Johnstone 0, Livingston 2. Just before half-time, James Penrith found a third for Livingston, leaving it St Johnstone 0, Livingston 3 at the break. Saints made 3 substitutions at half-time, with Alex Mitchell, Graham Carey and David Wotherspoon all coming off. In place, we have Cammy McPherson, Jamie Murphy and Connor McLennan taking to the pitch. A great move from Callan Davidson, as 2 of the substitutions, Murphy and McLennan, scoring within minutes of each other to make it St Johnstone 2, Livingston 3. However, 10 minutes before full time, Penrith went 1-on-1 with Remy Matthews and made it St Johnstone 2, Livingston 4, which is how it finished here at McDermott Park.
Yeah, it's one of those games where managers make changes and hope that it can give you an effect. It did for St Johnstone for a wee while, and then David Martindale's men eventually triumphing by that 2-goal advantage.
Yeah, fantastic result for Livingston. The league table there, you know, they get into 4th, which is great for Livingston. You know, a lot of people would maybe a tip to be, you know, in a relegation battle, but as I said before, I think Davy's very underrated. I think they've got a good side there. A lot of different qualities, battling qualities, particularly in weather like this. So to go up there and score 4 goals, St Johnstone very rarely lose 4 at home. 2 teams out with the Old Firm. So a great result for Livingston. And as I said, their next two games are Dundee United at home, Hearts at home. So they could be right in the mix for 3rd.
On our feed, lots of people putting, of course, their own point of view across. Thanks to Chris Bain, who says, has Tam been banned from Easter Road for suggesting their new director of football? There's a lot of people on our feed who are obsessed, thinking we're all getting banned from everywhere, which is so far from the truth it defies belief. We're banned from nowhere. We offer an opinion. Some like it, some don't.
No banned from anywhere. I think I'm always welcome back at Easter Road. Obviously I worked for Hibs TV, but I didn't really want to do it this season. 2 years was plenty for me, and obviously this was always in the pipeline as well, doing a Saturday show here, which has now came to fruition. So no, none of these are banned from anywhere. You've got to give your opinion, and I'm sure there's supporters of clubs, particularly at Hibs, who agree with my opinion, some that don't, and that's the beauty of football. Everybody's got a different opinion. But certainly no banned or been chopped from Hibs in any way. Yeah, absolutely. I think your contribution to them over a long period of time would suggest to me that lots of Hibs fans look at you and mix with you with great affection as you do your wee bit of after dinner stuff, which I think is absolutely magnificent. Certainly thoroughly enjoyable to listen to you, Tam, chat about your career as well in a self-deprecating manner. Is that fair? Fair to say I've not got a large ego.
Absolutely. One of the absolute finest if you get a chance to hear him. But in here on a Saturday afternoon, all you have to do is hit the subscribe button. You'll get notifications that we are on a Saturday between 4 and 6 to give you all the full-time scores, reaction from the managers. We'll hear from Malky Mackay and of course Stephen Hamill after that 1-1 draw at Fir Park. Hopefully, fingers crossed, hear from Callum Davidson and a delighted David Martindale after that 4-2 win for Livingston at McDermott Park. It was the late show up at Easter Road, and it was that man Kevin Nisbet coming back from injury, as Tam mentioned. He was determined to try and score as many goals as possible, and certainly a saviour for Hibs, as it looked as if they were going to drop all 3 points to Dundee United until Nisbet intervened in the 92nd minute to give them the equaliser. So we'll give you the managers and players' reactions to the results today, and we'll also be looking ahead to that match tomorrow, Rangers against Aberdeen. How do you think it's going to go? Is it going to be Rangers heading into the final to play against their great rival Celtic, or is there a shock on the cards from Kelly or from Aberdeen? In that match, Celtic against Kilmarnock kicks off at 5:30. It's one of those mental kick-off times. If you're a reporter, and I speak from experience, there is nothing worse than having to go to a 5:30 kick-off. It kills your entire day.
It does. You obviously can't do much. You're looking ahead to the game, but certainly if a 5:30 kick-off for a lot of supporters on a Saturday who like to go to maybe have a few beers before it, might not see much of the game at 5:30. Because there'll be a few beers down, but no, it's not. I don't think it's a great time for a kick-off 5:30, but a lot of supporters will like it.
Yeah, absolutely. But then as soon as it finishes, you might be able to go back to the pub, and then if you were just about to say, back to the pub, and if you were me in the early days, straight on to a nightclub as well, Tam. Burn the candle at both ends.
That's it, Saturday night. I heard you talking about the Braes the other day.
Yes, Glenaford Braes, yes, absolutely. There are some nightclubs where you would meet. It's a changed day now. I'm sure there are some footballers who still go to nightclubs, but such is the nature of how difficult it can be for footballers to actually go out and have, some extracurricular activities, and the way social media is now. But you could go out and see all your mates. I could go out and see Maka, who's a great pal. We would go out and, you'd go out in the nightclubs and the pubs, you'd see all the great players from Rangers, Celtic, Hearts and Hibs. Robbo and I were great pals, as you know, from my Edinburgh days. Go out and have a great laugh. You get the odd noise up, but nothing major.
Yeah, well...
Did you get a lot of grief?
Not in Glasgow. I was obviously a Glasgow boy, but when I moved through to Edinburgh and I was playing for Hibs, you go out. I remember getting chased in the road by 2 Hearts fans once. Coming out of Mercado, which I don't know if it's still there.
Yeah.
Some people might know it's in Edinburgh, and I was getting a few growlers off a few Hearts fans. I was talking to one of their missus.
Yeah.
And I came outside, and thankfully back then I was quick.
Yeah.
These 2 guys chased me all the way back to my house.
Yeah,
and I
absolutely.
shut the door.
I didn't want you to be that honest about who you were chatting to, Tam, but you've offered us information. I've been
my girlfriends.
All right, thank God for that. I've been chased up Lothian Road before, by the way, but that was because I never phoned her. It's as simple as that, Tam. Yeah, great. We like to chat with footballers, give you the little inside track on them as well. And also we like to get reaction from the big games, especially in the Scottish Premiership. We will have reaction on our social media channels to Celtic against Kilmarnock, which is only 10 minutes away from kick-off. Derek McInnes trying to plot a different outcome from the one that happened last week at Celtic Park when Celtic ran out 2-0 winners in that one. Ash Taylor scored an OG in that game. And I think the last thing they want is to have a similar scoreline here, so he has to come up with a different plan. He certainly mixed it up with Kyle Lafferty in that starting lineup. As far as Celtic are concerned, everybody knows the game plan, which is try and attack, high press, high intensity, and then pass until they get that break.
Yeah, listen, they're very difficult to play against, and I think what's been interesting in recent weeks has been managers of other teams commenting on how good Celtic are. Lee Johnson for Hibs, when Celtic beat them 4-0 Easter Road, came out and said, they're a fantastic team, they're going to put 10 past somebody this season. And Derek McInnes, who's been in the game a long time, not only as a player but as a coach, came out last week and said, this is probably one of the best Celtic teams he's ever faced as a manager. Whether that's mind games because he knew they were playing next week and he wants Celtic to take the foot off the gas, is maybe something in the back of his mind. But I think he spoke honestly, and this Celtic team has got so much energy, so much pace, so much craft that it's very difficult on a big pitch at Hampden to see Kilmarnock getting a positive result.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks to Paul Brady, who says Paris nightclub in Paisley, Toledo Junction, and then
it's one place I was never out in Paisley.
Well, Paisley.
Clubs or pubs or anything. It was always Glasgow Town Centre or Edinburgh.
Well, the Cotton Club was good in Glasgow. Buster Brown's in Edinburgh was magnificent.
That's before me, is it not?
Yeah, well, they are before you.
I was Victoria's, the Savoy, which I believe still going.
The Savoy? The Savoy?
Sometimes, if I went to Vicky's and never struck lucky, I would go to the Savoy. It was a certainty.
Tom, if anybody ever suggested to me at my age when I was younger the Savoy, I would look at them and think, really? But some people loved it. Thanks for that, Paul. Great memories of great nightclubs as well. But we always like to talk about that because footballers, you get to mix with some. If you had the trust of some people that ended up becoming your pals, then the joy of it all is you get to go to clubs, you get to talk about football.
You hang about for knockdowns?
Well, that's between me and Maka. It's none of your business. But thanks to Paul for those comments. Listen, we gave you the full times from the Scottish Premiership, Championship, League 1 and League 2. And also there are 2 semi-finals. The first one we've previewed, giving you the teams for Celtic against Kilmarnock. What about the second one we're going to talk about now, which is of course Rangers against Aberdeen. Our man Adam Binney never too far away from the action.
I'm inside of Hampden Park, where Rangers will take on Aberdeen in the second of two Viaplay Cup semi-finals here on Sunday afternoon. We were here to speak to both captains. Firstly, I spoke to James Tavernier, and we were speaking about the importance of winning these cup matches and winning these cups for after his playing career. Something to look back on for him and his family when he retires.
You always want to look back at your career when you do hang up your boots, and you go over what you've achieved, and obviously silverware in your trophy cabinet can give you a smile on your face and say, this is what I've achieved, and you can show your kids and be really proud. So that's I think that's all the boys' mentality, and the coaches. We all want to achieve great things together as a club, and we've obviously got to try and do that as soon as possible.
You also spoke to Aberdeen captain Anthony Stewart. Now, he's had the chance to come up against both Antonio Cholak and Alfredo Morelos this season. He gave his verdict on who he thinks is better.
For me, they're two complete different strikers. I do rate one better than the other, but personally, they're both as.
You've got to give us it. Come on, you need to give us it now. Who's best?
I would say Cholak's a better striker than Morelos, in my opinion.
Based on
just the whole all-round game, I've played against both of them, and I kind of give my opinion on that.
We know it's going to be a fascinating and entertaining game. It always is when these two sides meet. But who do you think has got the upper hand, Rangers or Aberdeen?
That's funny, by the way, because Jim Goodwin was doing the damage limitation right after it, saying, he shouldn't have said that. We should have obviously given him a greater insight into what not to say ahead of a game. If there's a great incentive for Alfredo Morelos to go out there and bang a few in, it's after that line, isn't it?
Yeah, I think as an experienced player to get sucked into that, his manager's not happy, clearly. At press conferences, I've done plenty myself as a player. You're always got to be on your guard because the media want to try and get a line. You want to try and get something out of you that they can put in the paper, and it's been done to me a few times in the past. But as an experienced player there, he should know better than to compare players and say somebody's better than the other when you're playing them a couple of days later. So I don't think it'll have a great influence in the game, but it'll be interesting to see if Morelos scores and what your celebration is.
Yeah, listen, these guys have not only got the chance, I think James Tavernier will be able to, at the end of his Rangers career, hold his head up high and look at what he's achieved and the journey he's been on, eventually to Rangers captain. I think, some people say, okay, it's all about the medals that you win, but sometimes also there's the run that maybe not ends the way you want to, but I think you will look back with great pride at getting to a Europa League final as well.
Yeah, listen, I think the Rangers support on the whole look at James Tavernier as a top player for Rangers, but at the end of the day, as a Rangers player, you're judged on what you win. And there's two big clubs in Scotland, as we know, both dominate. The trophies here, the three up for grabs, and Rangers have got to have a better record in the cups. Obviously, I think they won the Scottish Cup last year, but before that, a real barn spell in terms of winning things. So I think under Michael Beale, listen, I think the league's gone. I think the league's done. Celtic will win the league, but the two cup competitions, I think that Rangers will be looking to win both of them, and I think if they do that, then it will give the Rangers supporters a little bit of hope that they can close the gap on Celtic in the league next season.
Yeah, and with that in mind, Michael Beale has mentioned that he's hoping to make 2, possibly 4 signings before the end of next week. And when you think that this final would be played in February, and then you've got that run of 16, 17 games now for some in the Scottish Premiership, there's a chance for Rangers to build up momentum, build up confidence. A lot of Rangers fans I know would suggest that the league is still within their grasp if there's some kind of collapse along the way. I seem to remember Aberdeen were able to do that when Celtic were about 7 points ahead, and they had a good few games in hand, and Aberdeen under Fergie were able to actually go beyond Celtic and just nip it and win the league. This is back in the 80s, so it's a tall order, but when you add players and you keep that momentum going, it builds confidence, and you say it might build confidence enough to land the two big trophies that are remaining in the cup competitions.
Yeah, I think for Rangers, the reason I think it's going to be tough for them to win the league is there's not a lot of teams that's going to beat Celtic out with Rangers. There's no, maybe Hearts away, you know, Celtic went and murdered Hibs away from home recently. There's not a lot of teams that's going to take points off of Celtic.
Yeah.
If it was a more competitive league, and there was teams who you think, oh, that's a difficult game, they could struggle there. But I don't think there's going to be. There's not going to, Rangers might beat them, you know, but in terms of the league, but I don't see Celtic dropping 6-7 points against any of the other teams in the league.
With regards to Rangers against Aberdeen, you've got McLaughlin that we expect to be in goal, Tavernier, Golson, Davis, Barisic. Is it Jack, Lundstrom, then Sakala, Tillman, Kent and possibly Cholak? I mean, he says Cholak's touch and go for this one, so whether that's a wee bit of manager speak on this one, only time will tell.
Yeah, I think that Cholak will play. I think he'll play. I think it was a wee bit keep the opposition manager guessing, and I think he'll try and keep the same team that's been doing well in recent weeks. I think it's important as a player, you get a run of games, you build momentum. Managers like to keep the same team, you know, players that are match fit and fresh. You know, so if you're on a good run, you'll tend to make very, very limited changes. So we'll just have to wait and see how Rangers play, but I think they'll stick to the team that's been winning games recently.
Yeah, as far as Aberdeen are concerned, boy did he need he needed a win last week. Roos in goal, McCrory, Stewart, Scales and Coulson, Eelbert, Shinnie, he had Kennedy in there, Clarkson, Duke and Miofsky. This is, I mean, he's obviously going to add a couple more, but that's been his strongest side near enough.
Yeah, I think that's not a bad team Aberdeen-wise. I think when you look at bringing Graham Shinnie in, which is a fantastic signing for, in my opinion, I think it's a guy who's played at the very highest level up here, been capped for Scotland. I think he's a very, very good player. He comes in, he knows the club, and I think they've got a wee bit of everything in the front areas. Matty Kennedy, Leighton Clarkson, young boy on loan from Liverpool. I think he's a very good player, scored some great goals this season. But particularly up front for me, I think Duke and Miofsky offer something different as well. Duke wants to run in behind, he's quick. I don't think Rangers have got great pace at the back, centrally. So, and Miofsky, as we know, has scored a lot of goals for Aberdeen this season. So I think Aberdeen can cause Rangers problems, but they've got to defend properly, and that seems to be the Achilles heel. They kept a clean sheet last week against St Johnstone, but if they defend the way they defended against Rangers up at Pittodrie early in the season, then I don't see them getting anything out of the game. But if they can be very, very solid and rigid and defend properly, you know, they've got a wee chance to cause an upset.
Yeah, I mean they were able to cause an upset back in 2018, but you know, we need something special. I do think both sides, whether it's Kilmarnock or Aberdeen, need to score first to give themselves a real chance of doing something in the game. Stranger things have happened, but I can't see it because basically I think the way Rangers are playing now and the way the momentum is carried on, and also I think from the dark days of the tail end of Giovanni Van Bronckhorst, where he couldn't get a trick out of the team and they became what I would call predictable. This team's not bad. There's a freshness about them with Beale's arrival.
Yeah, there is. I think Rangers, it was the right call to end the previous manager's reign, Van Bronckhorst. As you said, I think Rangers looked as if they were stalling. They looked stale. They looked devoid of any ideas. It was give the ball to Kent and see if he does something. You know, if he wasn't at it, you know, they were dropping stupid points. You know, St Mirren, St Johnstone, Livingston got a draw at Ibrox. So, no, I think that the change was needed, and I think that they've got a little boost from that. The Rangers players, I think they're buying into Michael Beale. By all accounts, we all hear it. He's a very, very good coach. I know there's a difference between being a good coach and a good manager. So he's got to prove that as well. But I think they're responding well to him, the results, and I do think they'll bring in 2 or 3 in this window. You know, and you're looking at players in England who've got good pedigrees, and would come up with, you know, and demanding decent money. So no, I think that Rangers, if you're a Rangers fan, you know, particularly looking at the Old Firm game where they played really well against Celtic, you know, you're positive, a lot more positive than you were maybe 6-7 weeks ago under Van Bronckhorst. Yeah, if you're watching from near or far on PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel, don't forget to hit the subscribe button, tell your friends. On a Saturday, 4 till 6, we'll sum up the games, give you a reaction from the managers and players as well, and focus on the games that are being played. Unusual time to kick off a match, but that's the nature of football these days. The Viaplay League Cup semi-final, and this one, Celtic against Kilmarnock, has a 5:30 kick-off.
So it's a game where if there's a goal in it, we'll keep you up to date with the first half hour of it anyway, to see if anyone manages to get that early breakthrough in the game. It's difficult conditions, slippy, Hampden, big park, and we've mentioned already that if you haven't been made aware of it, Kyle Lafferty has started for Kilmarnock in the game. Celtic more or less the same, one change just on that right back position, Juranovic for Johnston, but up front it's the likes of Kyogo and Maeda who are given the task of trying to run right. Of course, let's not forget Kyogo was able to do it in the League Cup final against Hibs, and boy, at that point he was flying.
Yeah, he did. I was at the game working for Hibs TV that night at Hampden, and Hibs, looked as if they could maybe cause an upset. I think it was Paul Hanlon to get the goal, but Kyogo's, particularly his second goal, where he gets through and lobs the goalkeeper. He was flying, great finish. Was a hero that night, and he'll be looking to do the same again. I think he's got 15 goals this season. He could probably have 20, 25, but all strikers miss chances. It's impossible for any striker to finish every chance. Nobody in the history of football has scored every opportunity, but the most important thing is getting in there and getting opportunities, no hiding. And Kyogo seems to have a strong mentality where if he misses one or two, he still keeps getting in there, and the best strikers do that. So, no, I think that he's one that Celtic will be looking to try and get on the score sheet again tonight.
Yeah, early moments, 4 minutes gone in that match. Just a quick nod to the English Premier League, where Manchester United won the derby by 2-1 against City. Elsewhere, it was a 3-0 win for Brighton over Liverpool. Problems there, more problems in the blue half of the city, because Frank Lampard's Everton lost by 2-1 at home against Southampton. This was after Everton were leading by 1-0. Nottingham Forest defeated Leicester City by 2-0, and Wolves had a 1-0 win over West Ham. And when you look at that, there are three managers there that I'm about to mention. Well, four. Jurgen Klopp, Frank Lampard, Brendan Rodgers and David Moyes, who you're all looking at and saying poor results and pressure.
Yeah, I think there's pressure on all of them. I think that, starting off with Jurgen Klopp, I think that Liverpool this season have been really, really poor. I think they're sitting 8th now. They've lost their key defender. So I don't think they'll finish in top 4 this year. I don't think they'll finish in the top 4, Liverpool. And the bottom, listen, when you sink into that bottom 3, which I think Everton and West Ham both done today, owners get itchy fingers, and I think both of those managers will be fearing a phone call tonight to tell them their services are no longer required. And Brendan Rodgers seems to have been under pressure at Leicester for a while now. 4 defeats in a row, and they're, I think, only a point or two off the bottom 3 as well. So, listen, it's a ruthless game, as we know in English Premier League.
Yeah.
And owners will just, if they see fit, they will chop the manager and get somebody else.
Yeah, I think it's getting that way up here as well, Tam, because more and more managers, I think, are under pressure quicker. I don't know if you agree with me on that, but it's starting to become that way.
Social media, I think, as well, which is a big thing. Because
should it be?
No, I don't think. I think boards and directors and owners need to be stronger, but everyone seems to be on social media now, and I include directors and owners. And if they're getting bombarded after every game by get the manager out, he's rubbish, get him out, then there does seem to be a bit of kickback from that. But I think the pressures of social media, everybody's got an outlet now. It used to be you could ignore it. It was a paper or a website or something, or a radio station. You could just turn it off. But now, if you're on social media, and people tagging you, and there's no hiding from it, and I think that's added to the pressure. Supporters demanding success after 2 minutes.
Yeah, there is a way to educate yourself on it, though, is basically when to, and I think a number of managers are able to distance themselves from the noise and the negativity of what I would call the moronic element that I think is all over, mainly Twitter. I think Twitter is one of those places where you've got a whole group of people who just, their sole aim in life is to have a platform to abuse people. Sometimes we get it on YouTube to an extent, but more often than not, I think we're very lucky that we've got here a number of great people who love their football club. And today, when you look at the results, a lot of fans will look and say, well, you know, Motherwell have been getting a bit of pressure, and I think Alan Burrows has probably looked at the whole thing and said, well, I've done my stint over, you know, a good number of years. I think it's something like 8, you know, where he's climbed that ladder to chief executive. Motherwell 1, Ross County 1 was not a result I think they were looking for today. Hibs managed to get a 2-2 draw, could have heaped a wee bit of, I think Lee Johnson would have got a fair bit of flack for losing to Dundee United.
Serious flack. I think that, you know, and the results below you don't go your way either. You know, Dundee United get 3 points closer to you.
You said that you thought he'd be under pressure if he loses the Edinburgh Derby. Do you still think that's going to be equally as problematic for him?
I think that's a big result from today, just getting a draw at the end. It just eases it a little bit, but you know, Hibs they're just struggling at the minute. If it wasn't for Kevin Nisbet, you know, where would they be in the last few games? So, you know, they lost 2 goals again today. They lost 2 goals last week at Motherwell. Defensively, there's still huge question marks about Hibs. And Hearts roll into town. You know, played in the Edinburgh Derby games, Edinburgh Derby Cup games. They are huge in that city, and they're ones that you cannot afford to get beaten.
I'm looking forward to it, Tam. I love an Edinburgh Derby. I'll be there watching it, savouring the atmosphere, savouring the noise ups, and of course nothing better, especially because it's a cup match where you get a huge support. I mean, you get a huge support everywhere apart from the Old Firm Derby now, but a huge away support.
Yeah, it'll be. Listen, the atmosphere will be. I think it'll be a sellout. The atmosphere will be crackling at Easter Road. You know, and it's such a big game in that city, and you're just hoping that both teams come out and play well. You know, there's been a lot of really poor Edinburgh derbies over the course of the years, and you know, I've played in a fair share of myself, a few 0-0s, but I've also played in 6-2s, 5-1s, 4-eaches, where there's been tons of goals. So you're hoping for a neutral that it's going to be a great cup tie next week.
Yeah, I can tell you that this is one game at Hampden Park where you're wondering who's going to get that first breakthrough. There has been a good save by Joe Hart in the match, but it's the big pitch. It's one of those nights where it's a classic Scottish night, windy, rain lashing down, and you're wondering if it's going to be one of those games that's going to be swinging from one to the other. If there's one goal that's going to settle it, I think the longer Kilmarnock can keep it tight, the better Derek McInnes will feel, and he'll say to himself, right, maybe there's that one moment, a set piece, because you know what Lafferty's height, as well as I think Lafferty's got a good touch on the deck as well.
Yep, I think that when you play in big cup games, whether it's semi-finals, finals, or you play Old Firm, it's at Parkhead or Ibrox, the first 20 minutes is absolutely crucial. There's no doubt about it. If you can get through those first 20 minutes as a player on the pitch, you feel a wee bit more confident. Right, we're into the game now. You know, we've got a wee chance. But if you lose an early goal, the wind comes out your sails. It really does. You just think, geez, we could get hammered here. And so I think it's really, really important, you know, as a player, that you keep it tight for the first 20 minutes. If you score first, even better. But I think if you can just get through that first 20 minutes where you expect Celtic Rangers to come flying out to try and get that early goal, then you go on to the game and you believe you can get a result. Yeah, one of our reporters, Claire Kinnaird, was up at McDermott Park today watching that match between St Johnstone and Livingston. Livingston raced into a 3-goal lead. There was a fight back from St Johnstone to make it 3-2, and then eventually the second goal of the afternoon for James Penrice made it comfortable for David Martindale's side. This is what the Livingston boss had to say after getting all 3 points at McDermott Park.
I know at 3-0 you think that might sound a bit stupid, but the boys probably played a wee bit safe. The defensive line was too deep, and we gave them too much territory in our half, which wasn't like us. Credit to St Johnstone, they came back into it, got their 2 goals. But again, fantastic from our players, from my players. I thought it was brilliant to come back and score a goal in the manner that they did and take the game 4-2 after going through a wobble themselves. I think that kind of knocked the wind out St Johnstone's sails, the 4th goal, and it's quite a very, very good display from the players, and I've got to take huge credit from that.
Yeah, I think, listen, he deserves huge credit, because when people look at the table tonight, they're 2 points ahead of Aberdeen. They've both played the same amount of games as well, Tom.
Yeah, but listen, he's doing a fantastic job at Livingston. You know, we've spoken about it so many times in this show that, listen, they've got one of the lowest budgets in the league, there's no doubt about that. I mean, and you consider how far clear they are of Hibs, who've got a far superior budget and resource, and they're splitting Hearts and Aberdeen at the minute, who, again, pay a lot more money than Livingston, get just bigger clubs and bigger support and better training ground, everything. So for him to be, bobbing along and doing well there and sitting in 4th place is a real credit to Livingston. I know how hard they work in there, and how fit they are. So when you're fit and you've got a good attitude and you've got a decent manager and you're organised, then you can, in this league, you can do well and you can finish in the top 3 or 4 in Livingston. I've got to be aiming for that now.
Yeah, and they've got, for me, an underrated captain in Nicky Devlin. I think does a great job.
Yeah, he does. Listen, I think he's an excellent player. I played with him at United actually towards the tail end of my career. He was only a boy, but one of the fastest guys I'd seen on a part. He was rapid. And funnily enough, the only time I've ever seen him having a going over was at Easter Road a couple of weeks ago when just at around about Christmas, where the boy Johan for Hibs absolutely gave him a doing. And that's the first time I've ever actually seen somebody really getting the better of Nicky, but usually he's solid and he's quick. He can go forward, and no, he's a good player.
Yeah, absolutely, and that was a good win for Livingston. And elsewhere, I can tell you, after 9 minutes in the League Cup semi-final, it's still Celtic 0, Kilmarnock 0. Have had a few good saves in the match, but when you look at it overall, there's still nothing really to write home about.
Looks as if Kilmarnock have started the game well.
Yeah, absolutely.
In a positive manner.
I think it is a good game. It's a good game, but the weather is playing havoc with it. There is absolutely no doubt about that. It's one of those nights where it's when the rain lashes down at Hampden, the park becomes slippy. It's one of those moments where the last thing you want to be, Tam, is one of those defenders who makes the mistake.
Hampden's wide open as well. With that running track round it, it's going to be getting lashed and getting battered with the elements. And as they all say in Scottish football, is keep the high balls low.
Yeah, absolutely. There you are. There's many a manager has offered that advice in the game. But I think right now 0-0 in that match between Celtic and Kilmarnock. If you have just joined us, it's our new Saturday afternoon show. 4 o'clock we start. We'll give you 2 hours of reaction to not only the games that are being played, but we'll get the thoughts of managers and players after the match as well. And they'll give us their thoughts on the games. And the games today in the Scottish Premiership have implications at the top end and the bottom end. Livingston moving to 2 points ahead of Aberdeen with a 4-2 win against St Johnstone. Elsewhere, Motherwell and Ross County couldn't separate them. It ended Motherwell 1, Ross County 1 at the bottom end of the table. When you're playing each other, it's usually those points you want to pick up. It's the points you want that can make all the difference in your battle to stay away from relegation. And Tam did point out that when Dundee United were leading Hibernian by 2-1 at Easter Road, that it could be very difficult if Hibs were to get just dragged in nearer to the relegation area. But Kevin Nisbet's been the hero on the day, scoring 2 goals since he's come back. I think you mentioned, Tam, this is the great thing about it. Sometimes you come back from injury, it takes you a wee bit of time to get up to speed, but I think he's just hungry for goals.
Yeah, he is, and as I said, that spell out would have done wonders for him. I broke my leg at Hibs when I was 21 year old. And the following season, when I came back, it was the only season I'd ever finishing scoring double figures. So I took a lot of good experience from being out injured, getting myself fit in the gym and watching games, watching movement, watching my teammates where they like to put the crosses in. And I'm sure he's been doing that, watching games over the last 6 months, like guys like Cadden and Louis Stevenson and whatever. Like where do they usually put the ball and where should I be when I come back? And I think that he looks a totally transformed player. 7 goals, I think, in 6 games. All of a sudden, in the January window at the best time for him as well.
Yeah.
And he obviously missed out on the move to Birmingham maybe 18 months ago, and he'd be disappointed with that. But if he keeps the form up, then Hibs are going to struggle to keep a hold of him.
Yeah, we'll give you a reaction from the other matches as well, and we're going to give you one last chance to see our competition, which is of course a chance to win the Rangers strip from this season. Not only that, but you also get the chance to win the Europa League final programme. Didn't quite work out against Eintracht Frankfurt, but nevertheless we'll play that before we say goodbye to you tonight. We're in the final 10 minutes of the programme. Then don't forget, Monday we'll have reaction from the semi-final tonight between Celtic and Kilmarnock and Rangers against Aberdeen. Well, what about up there at McDermott Park for the losing manager? This is what Callum Davison made of it all.
Glad you said that. we talked about the start, but again for me, it's look at last 4 games, goals we lost are, to me, not good enough. I thought you start a game well, and Livingston were very clinical, but again we gave them too easy an opportunity to get a shot and goal. 2 chances they had up the pitch, scored 2, and then it's always an uphill battle.
Do you think Clare's managed to get the mic in there?
It's like get the badge in Stone Island. Get the badge in. I think we should play PLZ, get the mic in.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because that looks enormous, that mic.
Absolutely. Some people actually call for the mic to be taken out of the shot, but nevertheless, we always manage to sneak it in every now and then. But there's Callum Davis, not too happy with the manner of the way they lost the goals, Tam.
Yeah, listen, I think they're on a bad run of form at the minute, and they finished before the World Cup. They were in good form. They were sitting in the top 6 and winning games, scoring goals, keeping clean sheets. But since they've come back, 5 defeats in a row, losing goals, losing a lot of goals today. I think Callum would be concerned because we spoke about in this show he was under pressure last season. And obviously they stayed up in the playoffs. But listen, I think it's really been poor in terms of the last 4 or 5 games.
Yeah, I'm just saying to you, I think Celtic have got that opening goal in the match, Tam, and it looks as if 1-0 to Celtic in the semi-final, and Kilmarnock, it's the last thing that they wanted in this game, and it's still in the early start. It's inside the first 20 minutes.
Yeah, we spoke about keeping it tight for the first 20 minutes. I think by all accounts Kilmarnock have started the game pretty positively, but you've got to defend properly against Celtic, and that now changes their mindset. It changes Celtic's mindset. They'll have the blood in the nostrils. They'll think, right, we can get a couple of quick goals and kill this game. And Kilmarnock will think, oh, here we go again. So listen, it's going to be a long game for Kilmarnock now.
You remember what we were talking about? What do? Do you throw caution to the wind? Do you change the game plan? When you lose that goal, there's nothing worse in a semi-final, because you've come all that way. You've just got one more game to get to the final. They've already lost last week, and he has to come up with plan B. But if you've got a team like Celtic who suddenly start pinging that ball about, I wonder what you would do to try and change it.
It's extremely difficult. I think that you try and stay in the game as long as possible, but if it goes to 2 and 3-0 at half time, then I think you've got to say, right, listen, the game is gone. You sit and you try and keep. I remember going to Celtic Park just after we had beat Celtic in the quarter-final League Cup, and we celebrated exuberantly. Kevin Thompson scored the winner, and we played Celtic about a fortnight later at Parkhead, and Celtic were waiting on us. We were 2-0 down at half time. Down to 10 men, Derek Radden gets sent off, and they beat us 6-0, and it could have been 12. So I think when you come up against quality players like that, and they've got their tails up, the confidence up, and they really want to stick the knife in, then as a manager you think to yourself, listen, just try and keep the score down.
Yeah, Daizen Maeda with the goal.
Another guy who seems to have transformed his Celtic career. There was I don't take social media and Twitter as a barometer or opinion, but there's a lot of Celtic fans that start the season quite happy for him to leave. They weren't having him. I think last season, So, and now he's suddenly getting linked. I've seen Southampton getting linked to him, Premier League clubs. So it's amazing in the space of. It's a good World Cup as well, by the way. Really good World Cup as well. So, look, it's amazing how you can change opinion over the course of 2-3 months.
Well, the other thing about it was, I think is key to this is the fact that yes, he did have a good World Cup. I think the criticism that was coming in was because of the frustration of Celtic fans watching the end product, especially in the group stages of the Champions League.
Yeah, listen, I think that Celtic took a lot of criticism in the Champions League for not taking their chances, but I think if you're Ange Postecoglou, you're looking at it and you're creating real good opportunities against quality teams. Red Bull Leipzig, Shakhtar, Real Madrid, created a lot of chances, and unfortunately on the night never took them. But at that level, you're only getting 1 and 2 opportunities. You've got to take them. You've got to be ruthless. And Maeda took a lot of criticism. Kyogo took a lot of criticism. But both of them have shown domestically that they can score goals for fun in this league.
Yeah, absolutely. We are obviously going to give you a final look at the Scottish Premiership table shortly, because at the end of today, after the game last night that Hearts defeated St Mirren by a 1-0, and then of course the 3 matches today. It's been a change at the top end of the table, and certainly at the bottom end. I think there's a sense of frustration from some managers who are hoping to maybe get themselves back into the mix. I'm talking of course about Malcolm Mackay and Ross County. Still not cut adrift. It's still tight at the bottom end as well, so we'll keep you up to date with everything next week, Monday to Friday. And let's not forget there's a midweek card as well to look forward to, Tam.
Yeah, there is some good games midweek, so we'll be obviously keeping across them, but it's a busy time in Scottish football. As you said, the semi-finals are obviously today and tomorrow, and then you can park the cup until I think the finals the 26th of February, so there's a lot of games in between now and the League Cup final.
Yeah, absolutely, and you can look forward to on the Wednesday Celtic against St Mirren, Hearts against Aberdeen, Livingston, Dundee United and Kilmarnock against Rangers. Some of those clubs might be on a high if they reach the final. Celtic certainly in the box seat so far with that 1 goal scored from Daisen Maeda, and as far as the Premiership table is concerned, here's a wee look to see exactly how it looks, with Celtic still with that advantage at the top, but they're both in action, as you can see, in the League Cup semi-finals. But Hearts with the win in 3rd place, Livingston tucked in behind them now, only 4 points behind them, but they've played a game more. Aberdeen 2 points behind Livingston, amazingly, and St Mirren still in the top half at the moment, but at the bottom half, Ross County were hoping to just put a bit of pressure on the likes of Dundee United and Kilmarnock and Motherwell. Well, Motherwell got the point today, but there's a fair delay between hearing from the manager. I think Stephen Hamill is raging with his players because obviously, they're looking to take all 3 points here, and a point against somebody that's close to you is not what he wanted.
No, and they're only 3 points off the bottom of the league. I think that was a game there he would have gave himself breathing space. 6 points clear of bottom. Getting a win. They've only won 1 game at home all season. It's not been good enough. So I would think that him and Brian would be having the players in after the game and really saying it wasn't good enough. And that's real tight now. Dundee United, Kilmarnock, Motherwell. All 3 clubs only 3 points off the bottom of the league.
Yeah, if there's a goal in that League Cup semi-final before we go off air, we will keep you right up to date with it. Last chance to enter the competition before we announce the winner on Monday. Adam has been telling us all week, and it's an opportunity for you now to see if you want to win that Rangers jersey and the Europa League final programme.
This is your chance to win this replica Rangers jersey from the 2021-22 season, along with the matchday programme from the Europa League final against Eintracht Frankfurt. To win this fantastic prize, all you have to do is answer this simple question. Which Rangers player scored in the 2022 Europa League final? Post your answer in the comments section below. If you want to double your chances of winning, don't forget to hit the subscribe button on PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel. Good luck.
Yeah, good luck with that. We'll announce the winner on Monday.
There's another competition Monday, isn't there?
Yeah, an absolute belter. We've given away some Match Attacks, a box of Match Attacks soccer cards, and these are all to do with the Scottish Premiership. And we've also got these starter packs as well, which gives you, of course, the album to start sharing it all and saving and swapping as well. So it's well worth it. So thanks to Match Attacks for giving us the chance to give that prize away, and over every week all the way to the end of the season we're going to be giving you some prizes. All you have to do is give us a very simple answer and hit the subscribe button on our YouTube channel and join the football family. It's of course uncensored, unbiased, unmatched, on 6 days a week now, and there's lots of other programming and one-to-ones. We had a great interview in midweek with Tony Fitzpatrick. Tam, I thought he was really good. He was obviously paid tribute to his teammate, sadly, Frank McGarvey, who passed away. His funeral's on Monday.
Yeah, I know you and Ruffy will be going to the funeral amongst other people that knew Frank, but no, it was a great interview with Tony. I see my brother-in-law is a big St Mirren fan. A lot of people I know are St Mirren fans, and I forwarded it all, the interview on him, and they enjoyed it as well. So and picked his dream team. So for a St Mirren fan, you know, if you're wanting to catch it and catch up, I think you'd really enjoy that interview. And he's picking his dream team. My brother-in-law said that he's right back, wasn't he? He should have Stevie Clark in as his right back.
Yes.
Apart from that, the rest of the team was bang on.
Yeah, I'll mention that to him because I think there's a few people phoning Tony to say, how the hell am I not in the team? Anyway, one manager's come out quickly to speak about that draw at Fir Park. The other one, I think, still in the dressing room with the Motherwell players, that's Stephen Hamill. But let's hear from Ross County boss Malky Mackay.
Very much so. As I said, I've got a group in there at the moment who are disappointed they didn't win, and you know that's not a team that are destined to go down. So right now I've got a team that are fighting for everything to actually, and I think again, you know, I talked to various managers in this league and most are in agreement that there's fine lines between 7 and 8 teams in this league. There really is, and it's just that little bit in both boxes. Who can be clinical in the opposition box and can you be resilient in your own box?
I don't think Ross County, I don't think they're going down. There's something, I think there's a twist in the tail, Tam. I think, you know, his chairman, I know him well, he will back his managers to the hilt. There's a few twists along the way, I
think there is. I think that Ross County, plus they've got the experience and they've got that, I don't know, that they're battle hardened. They're down there, you know, most seasons. You know, a lot of the players have experienced it. You know, and I think that maybe other clubs have not got that as well. You know, you always see a bigger club getting sucked down into that bottom 3, bottom 2, and there might be same again this season.
Yeah, Motherwell, are they battle hardened? Are they good enough? Have they got what it takes with an inexperienced manager in Stephen Hamill? We'll find out. We'll be asking that question to you on Monday's show. You can join us for that. Elsewhere, David Martindale, is he going to go into a bigger job? Because the job he's doing at Livingston is absolutely superb. St Johnstone now 5 consecutive defeats. What a dreadful run for the Saints. And elsewhere, Kevin Nisbet has saved the day for Hibs again with a late equaliser in that match at Easter Road. It finished Hibs 2, Dundee United 2. In the Viaplay League Cup semi-final at Hampden Park, it's Daisen Maeda is the difference between Celtic and Kilmarnock. He scored the goal. That's the scoreline at the moment. Celtic leading by a goal to 0. Are they going to build on that, or is there a fight back on from Kilmarnock? And what about Rangers against Aberdeen tomorrow? Who's going to win that one? We will discuss it all on Monday's programme. Tam will be back with me, Alan Ruff, Alison McConnell. Hopefully you can join us for that. Hit the subscribe button. From myself and Tam McManus, thank you to you for watching.